So, once again, another reading. 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 I'm kind of shocked that the New Age community is so quick to use fear factor. I wonder sometimes if they really are on our side. And so, again, this is why I put great distance between me and the New Age community, because I just don't trust them. I think there's a lot of toxicity in that. So we're going to be talking about Project Bluebeam. And let's go. And I'm waiting for 9 people. It's very late. People could be in bed. And if I have to, I will do an Eckhart Tolle moment and speak alone, which is fine. I totally love that. It'll be probably less distracting. So let me wait for a few minutes. I feel like I'm talking to myself, which I am. And we're going to talk about Project Bluebeam because that's been coming up, but it's not being discussed properly, as usual. And we're going to be talking about the New Age community and how it's become infiltrated by some really nefarious forces. I don't think any of us can disagree with the fact that there's a lot of fuckery going on in the... Thank you, Livy. How are you? In the New Age community. We just can't deny that there's a lot of fucked up information that's been twisted for their own content to make it more interesting and more fearful. So we're going to be talking about Project Bluebeam. If you can, share the live. And I'm sure you've seen the Project Bluebeam come under your screen. And the premise is, I'm going to go to the premise. Then I'm going to draw you back to Orson Welles, which I've brought up before. Then we're going to go back. Isn't it beautiful? Thank you, Letty. It is. It's a beautiful High Priestess. And Project Bluebeam. Perfect, right? So let me wait till we have about... 9 people. You know me and my number 9. Let's wait a little bit. But we're going to go to Orson Welles. We're going to talk about War of the Worlds, his radio show. We're going to see how the government learned about how easy we can be controlled by fear. We're going to touch about COVID. And then we're going to really deep dive into Project Bluebeam. I'm going to share with you who actually actually the man who actually created this idea, his researches on Project Bluebeam, how he researched it with data from the government. What did he do? Hang on, let me look here. I actually took some notes this time. How he, hang on for a quick second. NASA, United Nations, a unity of consciousness, and using fear once again to make us do what these people want to do. We're going back to the 1%. Basically, my conversation damn near every day is about the 1%. I don't know what else to say. Let me see here. Let me just wait. Oh, how cool. Okay. All right. Let's see. Shall we start or should I wait a few more minutes? Because I wanted to share the live, but I don't want to repeat myself because once I start, I'm not going back. So again, talking about Project Bluebeam, talking about Serge Monast, who was born in Montreal, Canada. He was born in Montreal, and it depends on where you go. He was either born in August 12th, 1945. I don't know how they can fuck it up that bad. Or December 8th, 1945. And died mysteriously of a heart attack in... let me give you the date on when he died. Hang on. Depending on who you listen to, it was either 12/5/1996 or January 5th, 1996 in Montreal, Canada. So conspiracy theories have had a bad rap. And they've had a bad rap because some conspiracy theories are straight up crazy. Period. End of story. There's no argument. They're fucking nuts, okay? They come up with shit that's insane. But even crazy people, if any of you have ever seen the movie The Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe, I forgot who it was about, but it was a scientist who had invented a certain mathematical equation to prove certain rules, universal laws of capitalism, if I'm correct. It's a broad sketch, let me say, because I haven't seen that movie in like 15 years, but okay, let's move on. So there are crazy people that can come up with fucking solid shit. And that's what we need to understand, okay? So when Serge Monast wrote his thesis called Project Bluebeam, he was writing in 1993 to 94. Now, remember, many of you won't remember because we are taking our age of technology with absolute nonchalance. But in 1993-94, we barely had flip phones. Barely, okay? In the 1980s, late 80s, we had big-ass phones the size of a small phone book. You guys don't even know what a phone book is, but okay. And in 1993-94, very few people had computers. And yet he was talking about technology. Like, for example, he was talking about money no longer being allowed, that he didn't even know about crypto, because at the time, crypto was not something people were talking about. If you had, you'd be a millionaire, multi-millionaire. So in 1993-94, he's talking about all kinds of crazy shit, including hurricanes, including weather challenges, including diseases and all kinds of cataclysms that would make people fearful, to do basic tests to see how they can control people. And the ultimate, and this is interesting how I've been really staying away from the New Age community, like really putting a massive distance between me and the New Age and calling what we all know as starseeds, ancient wisdom. And so Project Bluebeam was a project that he wrote about how there would be a one world order. Now, who else has been talking about that? Well, David Icke has been talking about that for years, decades. But what he did is talk about how they would use technology. Now, holographic technology. Again, let me bring you back. There was a book that I was reading to you about almost a month ago. It was called Mind Power into the 21st Century. And the first thing it talks about manifesting and understand reality is the holographic universe. So we all understood holographic universe. But in 1993-94, we did not know how to do holographic images in the sky. Now we do, from what I've understood. And what he talked about in 1993 was that they would use AI. How did he know? Artificial intelligence. How would he fucking know? But he was doing deep diving exploration on what NASA was working out with the United Nations. And combining one world order where currency would not be used. Now that's interesting because if you remember, and this is, I got to give credit to Candace Owens who actually put together that, is that when COVID was happening, if you remember, a lot of stores weren't accepting cash. You remember that? They were saying that cash was dirty and that we were not going to be able to use cash and credit card only because cash could be spread, COVID could be spread. Remember? Okay. So he was talking about concepts that there's no way unless he was a psychic or Nostradamus or something like that, but he was writing about it. And so the premise is that when they do what they do, which is when they fuck with all of us on a global scale, they're going to put into the sky images that are going to merge Krishna, Yeshua, Muhammad, Allah, Buddha, and Jesus, and all of that. And they're going to morph it into one entity, is what I'm understanding. I may be wrong, but that's the gist of it. And that it's going to get many of us who are, easily controlled are going to go for the okie doke. We're going to think we're going through the rapture. And they are going to actually create a one world religion. And we're going to be in obeyances. We're going to hit the floor and go, oh my God, I never knew. This is God. This is it. And it's going to come from a place that isn't so good. Now, what's interesting, and I have been listening to a lot of wonderful minds that are out there, thinkers, journalists, editors, from Regina Meredith, and that's a spectrum. I totally 100% respect her. To Candace Owens, there's a lot of shit she says that I'm not in agreement with, but when you have totally different opposite spectrum of thinkers that are saying basically some of the same things, you gotta stop and pay attention. What are they saying? They're saying that the whole concept of a one world order, false prophets, people saying that they are something that they're not to control the masses through fear, and the test run was COVID lockdown, is undeniable. The sad part about the guy who actually wrote the Project Bluebeam, which a lot of content creators are not giving credit, Serge Menas was his name. He was born in Montreal, Canada. He died at 51 of a heart attack. His children have been taken from him, just literally ripped out of his hands. And because he was homeschooling him, can you blame him? Most of us who have brains have ended up homeschooling our kids. And, or if we can't, because of finances, because we're single parents, then it's difficult. Okay, but those of us who basically had maybe a 1.5 income family, or just a 1 income family where we figured, fuck it, let's be poor for a while because our kid's brain is more important than getting a new SUV, did the sacrifice to homeschool our children to protect them from this shit. But ultimately, Project Bluebeam is about using UFOs and extraterrestrials and basically the basic fears of humans. Why am I saying that? Because as I said to you in 1939, I believe it was 1939 or in the late mid 30s, Orson Welles did a show. It was a radio show called it was called War of the Worlds, about the Martians landing and people panicking, and people thought the show was, they didn't think it was a show. They thought it was a real fucking report. They thought it was a journalist on the radio describing the invasion of Martians, okay? And people were losing their fucking minds. There's a few movies, I think there's 2 versions of that you may want to watch, called War of the Worlds, Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, by H.G. Wells, written by H.G. Wells originally. And so when you have governments looking at how easily manipulated people are by fear, and once you test run certain things, like if I had told you in 2019, if I told you in 2019, in May of 2019, we are going to have a lockdown, and the whole world would be locked down, and people are going to muzzle themselves. The very thing that heals you is oxygen, right? Not putting a mask on your face. That you are going to do all that. You would have told me I was fucking crazy. And literally a year later, that's exactly what happened. So it's conspiracy theories and theorists are people who have seen how the government treated its indigenous people, and some of the cruelty done to other people, not just indigenous, but that's usually the first run. And no one says anything. Well, we're seeing that happening again in certain parts of the world, if you get my drift. And so governments start realizing, and by the way, they have think tanks where they figure what would work. How can we control these people? How can we control, 8 billion people? Well, we could do X, Y, and Z. So Project Bluebeam is about that. It's about using UFOs, the concept of UFOs, and suddenly the government is saying, oh yeah, we're seeing UFOs. Now, pilots have put their whole careers on the line in the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, 1970s. Should I go on? On the line, talking about what they've seen in the sky, what they've seen that have crashed, sentient beings that were, brought to labs to be studied, to be interviewed. There are videos that you'll look at and it's obviously fucking bullshit. It's probably AI, most of it, let's be honest. But the point is, a lot of really great minds have put themselves on the line to talk about things. So there is an inherent fear. And because many of us are ancient wisdom keepers, and we know where we come from, many of us are connected as Pleiadians, as Arcturians or Syrians, and I'm not going to go on with the fucking list. You get the picture. Is we know that what's coming is our people. Our people are coming to help us. Now, in the background of all this fuckery, though, we've got one set. On one side, we have these wonderful sentient beings coming who are our starseeds brothers and sisters. On the other hand, which David Icke's been talking about for decades, is the reptilians that have been working with the 1% and in multiple nefarious ways. Song of Freedom is just the tip of the iceberg, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about on that spectrum. P. Diddy is a clown compared to the shit that David Icke has inferred. Okay, why he's still around is because he kept talking about lizard people, and that's why he's still here. Going back to Project Bluebeam. So in in September 1961, many of you don't know this, there was a couple that had been abducted on a spaceship, on a craft. Their name was Barney and Betty Hill. It was a biracial couple. They lived in New Hampshire. So on September 19th, 1961, they were abducted. They lost time. They had blackouts. Now, the reason why this came out is because I believe it was a forensic psychiatrist who put him under hypnotherapy, and it's on tape, it's on video, and you can, there's a movie about those people. Again, it's called, the people are called Barney and Betty Hill, and so all of this data came out, okay, about what they had experienced, what they had seen, so on and so forth. When you go on Gaia.com, you're going to meet a lot of people on Gaia.com who talk about being, who have seen hybrids, breedings of humanoids with extraterrestrials, the little green men, whatever you want to call them. But it goes deeper than that. And I think that some people do have, I'm going to be blunt, there are people who are in the public eye who do suffer from psychosis. I'm just going to say it straight up. And I think it's by design to throw us off the track. You have to be discerning. You're going to have to really, really use your noodle and go ahead, put on your tinfoil hat, because that's going to help you. But you need to go into your heart chakra to go, wait, is this bullshit? I call bullshit. And you also need to realize and discern that in all of that gamut, there's going to be moments where you're going to feel like, wait, I hear truth, but it's coming from evil. There's nothing wrong with all of these types of nuanced discernment. It's going to be very important to you, because when Project Bluebeam, let's say it unfolds, right? And it looks like the rapture, and it looks like, here's this new guy we've never heard of, but it must be somebody that's really important, because here he is ripping through the sky. Many people who don't believe in what you believe in are going to fucking go for the okie doke. And they're going to be completely controlled. And it's going to be a weird time. Hopefully, many of us will be crossing the bridges out of this shit show into 5D. I'm just saying, it will be like Noah's Ark, where we're all getting on the fucking, the super bullet train, the 5D super bullet train, and getting our tickets punched as we're looking over the sky going, oh fuck, here he comes, Project Bluebeam. I'm just saying, I'm trying to make a joke out of it because I don't want you to panic or start freaking the fuck out. Just understand that when shit like that starts happening, because it's really weird, and this is a point that a lot of people are making, is like, this is interesting. So the government has denied UFOs, and now suddenly, UFOs, and we're gonna have a Senate hearing, and we're gonna talk about shit that we've denied for decades, right? It's a little weird. It's a little weird because it's like being gaslit for 20 years. And then suddenly now, everything you've been saying for years is now being looked at. Oh, yeah, we knew it all the time. And you're like, wait a minute, hang on. What do you mean you knew it all the time? You've denied it for the entirety of my existence, but now you're going to say it exists? And in a way, that's how it feels for many of us. We're like, wait. Now, in one of my last live, I actually shared UFO experiences I personally had. And it wasn't just one, it was multiple. And how you have to understand that one of the reasons why it's becoming so prevalent in our timeline is we all have a fucking cell phone with a video and a camera, and we're all fucking pulling out our phones, videotaping what we're seeing. Thank God we're able to do that, because before that, in the 1970s, when say Shirley MacLaine was in Peru and she saw, UFOs all over the sky. And by the way, everyone knew that about Peru. Everyone knew, yeah, you see UFOs all the time. They're constantly there. It's no big deal. Mexico, same thing. It goes on and on. Well, I saw them in Manhattan, New York City, where I saw, we felt like we saw a velvet black mat, like in the background, something that looked like, I don't know, a form within the sky that was dark of a mothership. And the reason why we inferred that, when I say we, I mean me and my brother, and I was 18 and he was, I think, 13, and we're sitting there looking at our window. It's 1980 fucking one. And we're looking out the window going, holy fuck, they're little ships going up and down, diagonal, horizontal, moving up and down. It went on for hours and hours and hours until and we had no cameras, clearly, right? Not rolling cameras, not still cameras. Still cameras could have never picked that up unless we had high level film and film that could capture the night. But anyway, moving on. It went on all night until we had to go to bed. We had to go back to, it was like... we couldn't believe it for the first 10 minutes and then realize what we were watching. And I described what happened with me and my husband, my, at the time fiance in San Francisco, where in 1980, hang on, what was it? I think it was 1989, I believe. No, I'm trying, hang on. No, it was not, because we were both 23. No, it was 1985. And we were in the Embarcadero Center at the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. And we saw three, what I'm going to call black mat in triangle formation, triangle, no sound underneath, going underneath the Golden Gate Bridge, literally moving under and coming out. And we just followed and tracked them until we couldn't see them anymore. And I could go on and on. But the point is, all of us have had our own experiences. We all have stories, and we all know people who have stories. And now suddenly the government's going, oh yeah, it's declassified. Let's talk about it. And now here comes Project Bluebeam, where this man whose children were ripped out of his hands for some weird ass reasons, which we can't really, we'll never know the truth. But what I will say is that once his conspiracy theories came out, he was saying that he was being tracked and he was in fear. The following day, the story goes that he was put into jail because his kids did not show up to school or something like that. And mysteriously, 24 hours later, he died of a heart attack. Now, you could say that the stress and the fact that he had a broken heart, we could say that. We could say that, his heart broke because he realized that everything he had thought was correct and true. Remember, he was born in 1945. So everything he was raised to believe was true was a complete fucking lie, a sham. And that everything he had been taught to trust, he could not trust. So you could say in some aspects that his heart broke. Literally, it just stopped working. It broke because they had also taken his kids. I could see that. The fact that he was incarcerated before he was released, you could say something was done. I don't know. I can't say. I haven't done a reading on this. But what I will say is that his heart broke. I can say that something just destroyed him, and at the age of 51, he was gone. So Project Bluebeam by Serge Monast is on you can check it out on Amazon.com. It's also, there's another book you may want to look at as in addition to that book, and buy it, because you should have it, because at some point this shit will disappear, I can tell you. Another one is called Project Bluebeam Exposed, and it's by Sean Rust. Project Bluebeam excuse me, I can't talk. Project Bluebeam by Serge Monast is 48 pages. Project Bluebeam Exposed is 146 pages. And it says, I'm going to read it to you because what the fuck? It says, the Bluebeam deception explored the chilling possibility that a powerful elite is on the verge of orchestrating the ultimate global manipulation using cutting-edge technology, from holographic projection and satellite networks to artificial intelligence and mind control techniques. This conspiracy theory suggests that humanity could be deceived into surrendering its freedom in the face of a staged extraterrestrial or divine event. Well, I don't think that's totally crazy. I think it's actually possible. Discover the holographic technology might project realistic images in the sky, convincing the masses of supernatural events. People will freak out. The average person has made no effort to wake up. Uncover the potential role of satellite networks like SpaceX, Starlink in controlling global communication and manipulation of the flow of information. Learn how artificial intelligence and psychological operation can be used to stage a world-altering event and usher in a new world order under the guise of the New Age. This is why I've been waiting for people to, in the New Age community, wake up. Because you're either part of the bullshit and the whole I'm the chosen one, because we've seen what that means. Anybody says I'm the chosen one is usually corrupt, and there's something wrong with them. And if I offend you and you feel like you're a chosen one and I've just offended you, then you need to check your ego at the door. Because as long as you think you've been chosen, then you're playing into a psyop mind control of your butt being kissed. Remember the story of Aesop's fable of the crow and the fox. And if you don't know what that is, go find out. It's called The Crow and the Fox, and it's about the crow who can't sing worth a damn and the fox who foxically gets the cheese out of his mouth by false compliments. Okay, it's Aesop's fables. There's something about reading some of these ancient wisdoms. Ego is ego is ego. Our technology has changed, but as long as we keep feeding our egos, we become slaves of the monkey mind. If that makes sense. And I hope it makes sense. I'm certainly not here to insult you. And if I've lost like some of you for that, I'm not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. So what they found with, let's go back to Orson Welles. So when he did War of the Worlds, by the way, this is something my father was actually a young child listening. Well, I think he was a teenager actually. He was 16, I believe. When War of the Worlds came out on the radio in New Jersey, I think it was set in New Jersey, he actually was alive and well and listening to the show. And he told me that he didn't think it was real, but others in the neighborhood were starting to come out of their house, getting in their car, trying to escape the Martians that were coming. And it was so bad. And I mentioned this in my an old live, a month ago, that the cops had to come through the radio show and say, please, please do a public announcement. These people are freaking out thinking this is actually real and not a play that you're doing. They don't know it's H.G. Wells' play, War of the Worlds. Please tell them. And they had to. Anyway, just look up the movie. It's a fucking amazing movie, but it shows you the psychology. And so when we look at governments learning about human nature and mob culture and mob mentality and cattle mentality, where you can just control them. And remember how fucking furious people were when you didn't wear a mask. Furious as fuck. Just furious as hell. And remember when it was hard for you to find things that would actually help you heal. If something did happen, if you did get COVID. By the way, COVID is on the back of Lysol. It says COVID. So COVID is not a new thing, but COVID-19 was a new thing, a new strain. And I have talked to doctors who have said, the shit was real. But I've also talked to other doctors and other nurses who have said, yeah, it was like a little above the mark. So depending on where you lived and how it was dispersed and how it was, I'm not going to say too much on my theories on that, but whatever your theories are, they're probably right. There was definitely fuckery in this whole, how some people were getting massively sick and not surviving, and how it was hitting certain cities and not other cities as badly. I just thought it was weird what was happening. How it was hitting certain countries more than others. A weird one. You're going to have to ask yourself, and I know you could say, well, people are more contagious when they're closer in crowds. And I could say to you, yes, I understand, but there were certain places where they did nothing. They did not wear masks. They did absolutely nothing, and they did not get any sicker. And one city I can tell you for a fact was Nevada City, California, where they did nothing. And many of you have heard of people moving to Texas because they were doing nothing, business as usual. And you could say, well, a lot of people perished in Texas. And I would say, yes, probably. But there were other reasons as well, like, which I'm sure nurses could step in. And I wish I had a nurse or two that could actually talk about it. But we probably, our lights would turn off immediately. Let me see. Yeah, people were jumping out of buildings. On the War of the Worlds, is that what you're talking about? Let me see. So when this comes, disclosure will be presented to Congress tomorrow. Sweetie Pie, we are the disclosure. We're all reincarnated from other planets and other species. We are the disclosure. We don't need anyone to tell us we exist, because before we ever took human incarnations, we took incarnations of different species on different planets all over the universes. So I don't need any Congress to tell me I exist. I'm just in a human incarnation today. And if that sounds woohoo, sorry, then move on. This is not your life. Maybe you need to go back to what makes you feel good. But I can tell you from my own experiences, before I even went into hypnotherapy for it, where I saw myself be different species, that blew my mind. And I've explained it in many lives for about a year and a half, here and there. I'll drop it in. I'll drop one experience, then another experience. This is not a live about me. It's about us. If this Project Bluebeam gets underway and they start playing funny business, and a lot of people, have you noticed a lot of people going, oh my God, look, 2 moons, 2 suns. Look at the sky. It's breaking open. It's doing this. It's doing that. And people are like, Instead of being in awe, I can hear almost the fear in their voice instead of being in awe. I could see someone watching a tsunami barreling through towards them and being in fear. That makes sense. It's just fucking tsunami. But to see the sky break open into beautiful colors and beautiful patterns and things of that nature, instead of them thinking about, well, maybe we're actually going through a metamorphosis and we're going out of 3D into 5D and it's going to be extraordinary. They're like sitting there looking up with their cameras, talking, posting on TikTok and Instagram, freaking the fuck out. See, that's the problem. So if that's going to freak them out, just the sky changing colors and the clouds opening and all this beauty coming out of it and pouring out of it, and they've never seen that before. Because, let's be honest, they've been doing a lot of weird things with our atmosphere, with the planet. When we look up at the sky, we're not looking at stars half the time. Half the time, what's blinking are satellites, not stars. That's the other tragedy about us needing cell phones and Wi-Fi and all that shit. Watch the movie Johnny Mnemonic with Keanu Reeves. Johnny Mnemonic. That was made in the 90s, and it is on par. It's on par. What are we talking about with our electrical energy on these phones? What is it called? EMF? Let me see. Is that what it's called? I figure I'm at an age where I don't give a shit anymore. But for you guys that are younger, and especially you getting pregnant, definitely do your research to make sure you're protected from these cell phones. But why is the blue light coming from there? From where? What kind of question is that? I'm sorry. Well, not everyone realizes this, so hopefully the disclosure will help others wake up. To be honest with you, unless you're ready for all of what that means, then you're going to be in fear. All it's going to do is in fear. That's a very strange question. Anyway, so yeah, that's a strange question. Ask yourself, why are you fascinated by the light there? Ask her, because that's a strange question, because I'm talking about something pretty heavy and you're asking about the light in the image, and you should look at where the light is coming from. Where's the position of the light? And then you'll actually know why it's there. And it will make absolute sense why it's there if you really look at it. And go, oh, it's in the position of the root chakra. Well, what does that mean? And then go from there. You know what I mean? The answers are in the documentary called Unacknowledged. You don't have to watch movies. Unacknowledged. Okay. Well, the reason why movies are important is because people get a lot of information, and many of these movies were made because there's a universal law that before you're going to screw people over, you need to let them know what you're about to do. The 1% are mandated to do that. It's a universal law, or else it goes too far. And guess what? Because they've gone too far, as it is, as you can tell, with the state of our planet and the state of the health of our planet, the health of our people, the health of its animals, and the genos going on all over the world, and the incredible injustice and greed, and the level of evil that is actually stated in holy books. There's certain holy books that have massive evil, which I won't say here because, again, I'll be accused of all kinds of bullshit. But I just came across something that was very heavy, it shook me to the point where I started crying. Sent it to 3 of my friends who are high priestess and 1 divine masculine high priest. And he said, oh yeah, I've known about that a long time. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And one of the oldest books written. And I will not just go through certain books and ask where are some deviant shit, which holy books have deviant shit, and look it up. And I don't just say, accept the one answer of one book, go through all the books so that you find what I'm talking about. And it was pretty bad. It was so bad, I was shook for a couple hours. So what's happening right now on the planet is that a lot of evil, plain ass evil, written as religious law, is being exposed. It's like the earthquakes. One of the things Serge Moniz said in the Project Bluebeam, and there would be things exposed, lands sunken that would rise. I think it was 20 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago, when Cleopatra's a part of Cleopatra's village palace was found right at the bottom of the bay in Egypt where she lived, and it was found. I don't know where the divers have been doing for 50 years, or 100 years, but they finally found it. And that was a shock. So there are things that are going to be rising out of the ocean. There will be also secrets that have been hidden by for actually for thousands of years. And these things will be exposed, and we'll get to see the real intent of certain people who have led us into the wrong direction. So a lot of you are gonna, like, if this, let's say this does happen, like Serge Monast prophesies in his writing. By the way, he was a journalist, he was a poet, and but this is going to be wrapped in the New Age, religion, NASA, United Nations. I'm not surprised. The concept of having one currency has been talked about for a long time. And it's going to be interesting. Unacknowledged on YouTube. You got it. Thank you, love. I appreciate that. Unacknowledged on YouTube. So go ahead and check that out on YouTube. I think that's a good bet. We can all watch it and see what we think. I'm sure it's great. There's a lot of wonderful filmmakers who are using their phones and you're the most basic shit to edit, the most brilliant stuff, the most brilliant. So what else did I want to tell you? So any questions on Project Bluebeam? I know you've been seeing this out there, and I just wanted to make sure that this was addressed. So again, there would be no fear and not fight. And honestly, if something happens where something rips you, something just erupts out of the sky, because it's definitely going to be a sky show, holographic sky show. If I were you, I would close my eyes and go within and ask myself, is this real? Or is this what I was told about? Is this the moment that I knew was coming? And how do I navigate out of that so that I'm not part of the collective fear and this incredible mass belief that whatever people say is true? And this has been a problem for many, many centuries, that whatever we're told, we had to believe, like cattle. And we can't keep doing that. It's not going to work. It's covered in the documentary. You will love it. Thank you, my love, Nalani. I appreciate that. I really, really appreciate that. I'm going to do... Did my brother reincarnate in the Buddhist sense at 49 days after he passed? I don't know. I don't know. Because right now, my friend, I'm not focused on you. No offense, and your brother, and God bless you on your loss. But I am focused on this. And if you want a reading with me to ask if he did in the way you think, then you would have to book a reading with me so I can focus and meditate 20 to 30 minutes before I do a session with you to actually give you an answer. But this is not... I don't know why people think psychics do this, like on the boom like that, because it's not that. I'm focused. You have to understand, you're not in front of me. If I was in a crowd of people, I could probably pick up on your energy and maybe give you a download. But this is a phone that and I'm looking at text. I don't know your real name. I haven't heard your voice. Ask the question. When people just answer you on the willy-nilly, they're full of shit and have a 50% chance of being right or being wrong. It's like playing blackjack. It's insane. Or betting on black on a roulette table. You're going to either get it or not. As I take questions like that super seriously, because we're talking about someone who passed, who dropped their body. And so I have a lot more respect for that than to just answer you on an entertainment level like that. I think, not to embarrass you, because I'm pretty sure that you've actually seen people do this and answer questions like that, but I don't know where their integrity lies, except that maybe they're just trying to sell you on how good they are and how they're just on the fly. That's not how it works. When you really pick on someone's energy, you've got to you got to close your eyes, you got to pick it up, you got to feel it, it doesn't, unless you're channeling, and then you're channeling the 3 Z's, or you're channeling other entities, and they are, boom, like Abraham Hicks. Okay, when Esther Hicks channels, first of all, she's channeling with people in a crowd. Someone stands up, asks her a question, and Abraham answers. It's a group of souls on a high dimension who pick up instantly on the energy. But guess what? They're still doing it where they saw it. They saw the person asking. They heard their voice, which is the vibration of the voice. They see the aura. They see the energy, the chakras even, possibly. And they might even see the person that is being asked of standing next to them. So they see it all in flashes of not even minutes, but seconds. So to be fair, I know Sylvia Brown used to try to pull that shit, and I can't tell you how many times she fucked up. She would tell someone to die when they hadn't. She would tell someone that whose person had disappeared, that they were never going to be found, that they were gone, and that was a lie. She had fucked up. No psychic should be ever pushed. Sometimes saying, I don't know, I'm not picking up on anything is the best answer, because you know what? It's an honest answer. And she used to always want to answer. And sometimes you don't answer if you're not quite sure. Because it's a dangerous thing to do that to someone. It will harm them. Okay? Because you've talked about old Hollywood, Meryl's death is divulged in the documentary. Sweetie, I'm going to tell you something about Marilyn. I already know about Marilyn. And the reason I'm saying that is because I followed Marilyn. I never believed she took her life, number one, ever. And one of the conspiracy theories that's not stupid was that a needle was punctured into her armpit and they never checked. And besides, the guy who did the autopsy was a Japanese gentleman, if I remember, and he did a lot of slipshod autopsies, a lot of slipshod. In other words, he wasn't really looking for shit. Meanwhile, her pap smear came up for sale. So the level of disrespect on many of these situations are insane. A lot of things have been said about the Kennedys, and honestly, I'm not 100% convinced on a lot of shit. When people had conspiracy theories about Anthony Bourdain being his life being ripped out of his hands, as I said before, I did a reading and I found out that he actually took his own life, because after you travel the world, after you see the fuckery, after you rub shoulders with the 1%, after you see Palestine, the Palestinians, and the apartheid, and you see other countries, and you see how our country, this American country, has left. Colonialism has destroyed people's countries, their whole way of life, their whole ability to thrive, and that it has impacted generations of people. And then you end up with some kind of witchy-poo chick that's a complete polyamorous chick, and you figure that's my last love, and if this doesn't work out, I'm out, and you keep to your word, yeah, you're going to take your life. And that's exactly what happened to him. He took his own. He decided that exit, left. I'm not staying here. Okay? So there was no conspiracy there. No one took anything out of him at all. But in terms of Marilyn Monroe, there's a lot of theories, a lot of fucked up shit, a lot of the Kennedys. It's always involved. Italians, if you know what I mean, with the bent nose, and they talk funny like that. There was all kinds of things that were talked about with her, but I can tell you that there's no way in hell she took her own life. There's no way. No fucking way. I never believed it for one fucking second. And I think that she was playing dangerous games, and she was not as stupid as she looked, or else Joe DiMaggio and Miller would have not fallen in love with her. It wasn't just the package. And she had very miserable relationships. I think Frank Sinatra was one of her lovers for a while, and Joe DiMaggio used to beat her up. And that's known. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's actually known. It's well known. What else? Yeah, that's about it. But he did love her. I mean, he probably had his own, not to excuse that, but he probably had a lot of sexual trauma, abuse as a child. And unfortunately, he never had an ability to talk about it, to get the right help. Miller ignored her most of the time. I've read so much about Marilyn Monroe, you have no idea. I started researching her when I was about 17, 18. Her, John Lennon, people like that I really loved. And to be honest with you, she was not the most beautiful woman at all, but she was the most alluring. There was something about her. Truman Capote wrote an essay piece about her, where they're just hanging out together. And she's got absolutely no makeup, and she looks like she's 14 years old, and she is absolutely glowing. There's a glow emanating. So she had a good soul. She was a good person, and she had gone through a lot. You got to realize in those days, the casting couch was just how you made it. If you were a movie star, you can bet your ass you'd gone through the casting couch. There was no other way to make it in Hollywood. And anyone that tells you differently is full of shit. That includes Liz Taylor. That includes Ava Gardner. That includes Marilyn Monroe, Sophia Loren. They all did it. They all had to do it. Okay? It will affect you. At least it did me. I'm sure it did. I'm sure it does. Any questions or comments? So, Project Bluebeam, just don't worry about it. If it happens, you're going to have to clap your hands and give them a standing ovation for a great performance and laugh your ass off. You're going to be tested again. That's probably going to be, it could be for if I'm alive when we see this, it's going to be probably the final test to our ability to transcend bullshit, to like literally not believe in our eyes, right? Mortal eyes, but to believe in what our heart says, what our guide saying, and literally close our eyes to it. This is what I suggest. Please spread the word. If that happens, let's say it's going to happen, then my suggestion, close your eyes, go within your house, sage yourself, calm yourself, sit in a meditation for as long as it takes, and ask your guides, give them permission to guide you, and give them permission to say, if this is the moment for me to go into 5D, I accept it now. Take me to 5D now. And it could be that's all we need to do, kind of like clicking your heels, like in the Wizard of Oz, clicking your heels and just going. And that's going to be very important. But panicking, running, going, oh my God, I heard about this, I knew this was going to happen, all of that is going to give you, is not going to bring you the kind of nervous system that you're going to need to overcome and transmute should this happen. And again, they're going to try to make us afraid of extraterrestrials. That's their goal for them. Their only goal is fear. If they can't make us afraid, they can't control us. It's really interesting because I remember reading a few articles about how some of these governments in the West were trying to find out how the Chinese controlled their own people, 3 billion people. How did they do it? What were the methods? So in America, I can tell you that in China, they have a socialized credit system. We know what that looks like. And we have the same. It's called FICO scores. It's very similar. It has people in anxiety and panic to buy a car, to buy a house, to refinance a house. If they get sick, oh my God, I can't have that go on my FICO, or else paying a bill on a medical bill. And the biggest freedom, and I know because I've gone through it, to buy the house, to be honest with you, but the biggest freedom is going to be not to give a fuck anymore, not to give one fuck, honestly, because this system is going to tighten its hands around our throat if we continue allowing that to be the way they control us. And so they're going to come up with all kinds of ways to control us, and ultimately, if we allow it, then that's our double-edged sword, free will, and we need to just move away from that and move into our own autonomous trust. It's the unspoken knowing. It is not faith. Faith is believing that it's all going to work out. I hope to God I'm right. The unspoken knowing is no matter how, my destination is assured. I will end up in a 5D, and that's it. And I'm going into the new earth. I'm there. I'm so grateful. I'm so excited. And the rest, unfortunately, many people who are dogmatic and cling to very limited beliefs are going to be seeing shit like that. Can you imagine like believing in whatever your religion is and just being a 3D logical person, and your mind is blown when you see shit ripping out of the sky and you think it's the rapture, and you're like, oh my God, this is it. And you suddenly, you're like a puddle of grief and fear, and you'll be obedient to whatever is said to you. Like that to me is like, this is why many of us who are awakened and still in our awakening journey are so lucky. We're so lucky. Because I'm hoping that none of you will go for the okie doke. Like you will stay smoking mirrors like everything else. Exactly. Project Bluebeam is a movie in the sky. Exactly. So does that make sense? Nothing to fear. Exactly. So any other questions or comments? Thank you. Any other questions or comments? What else did I want to... So I mentioned Barney and Betty Hill, who were abducted in 1961 in New Hampshire. I mentioned Shirley MacLaine seeing all the UFOs in Peru. I mentioned, What else did I mention? If you start reading Rampati Lobsang's books, hang on, let me see if I can give you a title. Hang on, okay? I'm going to give you the title. And this, again, it's going to blow your mind. But, I mean, you might as well get your mind blown because you need to catch up anyway. So, just the faster you can catch up, the faster you'll be less, what's the word? Controlled. Rampati Lobsang. Hang on, let me give you, let me see if I can find a particular book that you might want to read or get in Audible, which is what I did. Rampati Lobsang. Come on, dude. Don't change. Leave me the hell alone. Bear with me, okay? Oh, crap. Okay, I'm going to just search it on Google. Rampa, R-A-M-P-A-T, initial T, Lob, Sang. And then let me see books. And I'll give you okay, so I mentioned the Third Eye, which was my favorite. But the one that's going to give you the story of how he became a walk-in, which is probably very important for you. And it has a letter from his wife that says, yeah, that's not the man I married. Hang on for a quick. It's called something Venus. I'm looking it up. I actually bought it. Oh, yeah. It says My Visit to Venus. My Visit to Venus. That's what it's called. And you can just skip. It was written in 1959. He was called a charlatan. Of course, they always call people a charlatan that's saying shit that there's no way you could possibly know. What do I mean? I mean that when he was writing his books, Feeding the Flame, I Believe, The Saffron Robe, Living with a Llama. What else did he write? Hang on. I mentioned The Third Eye, The Cave of the Ancients, Doctor from Lhasa, Wisdom of the... I just mentioned that. Okay. So all of these books, many of them talked about things in detail that there's no way he could have known at all, because by the time he was writing these books, you couldn't go to Tibet if you gave anyone $1 million. It was impossible. It was a shutdown. In 1959, the Chinese took over. The Dalai Lama escaped with his life. If you know anything about the Dalai Lama, he escaped with his life in 1959. He had to leave Tibet behind. He was really broken. He was a young teenage boy. He was absolutely broken to leave his people, and Tibet was ravaged. The temples were ravaged. There are some temples that were in the highest level of the Himalayas, and they were impassable because of the snow, thank God, which protected many of the scrolls that were there, and many of the reincarnations of different Tibetan monks who were mummified, and some of those are still, you can still find them. And that's actually what happened in, I think, 1990 something. I'm trying to remember exactly. There was a German scholar that went up to visit one of these old monasteries, and as he was reading and trying to translate these scrolls, he came across the name Yeshua. Or it was either Yeshua or Isa. It would have been Yeshua, actually. So he found that, and that proved that Yeshua had gone to Tibet. At that point, it changes our perception of Yeshua because it makes us realize that he went to India. We know that. He went to Egypt, he went to India, and he went to Tibet. Remember, and I keep bringing up the three wise men, so I hate to repeat myself. But anyway, when you get these books, remember that this was written by a walk-in. And so Rampati Lobsang was a true Tibetan man, a monk. And what had happened was that there was this British man, I forgot his name because I didn't, but this British man had decided he really, life didn't taste good anymore. It didn't feel right. So it was almost like a spiritual contract, like somebody, I got to get out of here, and I don't know how, when, but I need to get out of this incarnation. I don't want to be here anymore. And this does happen, and this Tibetan monk made, I guess there was an agreement, spiritual agreement to go in, and there was some kind of fall where his head was hurt, he was hit, and the transfer of souls was done. Now, when you read My Visit to Venus, in the opening letter, you'll read that his wife mentions that, yeah, that's not the man I married at all. That's a completely different man. And but unfortunately, like all writers of mystical truths, like Carlos Castaneda was hunted down as a liar. Who else was? Lynn Andrews was hunted down as a liar. A lot of these people that came out with nonfiction books on their experiences were accused of lying, and that it was all fiction and it was not possible by a lot of logical thinkers who really, it's actually tragic. And it makes people like, in fact, when I first came out with my book Recall, I released it I wrote it and released it as a fiction because I knew, I'd seen very famous writers get attacked. So I figured, I don't know, they're really going to get me. But then recently I re-released it as a nonfiction, as it should have always been. So, they know how to keep your mouth shut. Any questions on that? Any books also? Let me see. Let me see. Okay, those are probably some of the best books you can read, and you're gonna salivate. Some of you who have a connection with Tibet, you're gonna feel like you're back home. If that's not your thing, then that's not your book. Just buy the one where my life in Venus, or whatever it was called. What did I just say? Hang on, what was it called again? But it was about Venus. Yeah, it's really hard, and you can get it on Audible. My Visit to Venus. It's available on Audible. It's a really short read, and then it goes into the most incredible esoteric and literally visiting the planet Venus. I kid you not. And there were other visits, and how he describes life review was amazing. I remember reading these books when I was 14, 15 years old, and in one of them, he's able to go back into time and go through a life review, which was extraordinary. And so some of these writers are just, they were coming out. Meanwhile, everyone was a Blavatsky fan and an Aleister Crowley fan. All of these reptilian energies that were just horrible people, in my opinion. But guys like him were buried in the time. Ruth Montgomery is another one that I mention a lot. Let me look up Ruth Montgomery. Let me read to you about Ruth. So I'm trying to turn you on to people who were humble and who were good at what they did and were only trying. She was a journalist. She was born in 1912. She died in 2001. In Florida, she wrote A World Beyond, Strangers Among Us, Here and Hereafter, A Search for the Truth. What else? Aliens Among Us, The World to Come, Born to Heal, Herald of the New Age, and Threshold to Tomorrow. And she wrote a lot of books, and she influenced me a lot. Again, I was reading her when I was like 14, 15 years old, and she was an amazing influence. Again, her name is Ruth Montgomery, and you can Google her. Strangers Among Us might be one of the great books. And The World Before. She was amazing. And she has actually lost in time. She's just, you never hear about her ever. Okay? So some of the old ones are the best ones in terms of esoteric teachings on that level. Some of the new ones, like Dr. Joe Dispenza, are amazing. Dr. Joe Dispenza, Michael Newton, all these guys are amazing. And again, she was, I don't know why we don't have amazing women writing books like this. I really don't know. Where are our female writers is my question. Where are our high priestesses? Why aren't we writing books? I know I'm working on mine, but I'm hearing, hang on, okay. The Sophia Code, I read the first 3 chapters and I call bullshit. I read the Mary of Magdalena. Hang on, what was it? And I'm going to talk shit about certain people because they're a complete fucking waste of time, in my opinion. I'm going to put books. Hang on. One of the best books on Mary of Magdalena, to be honest with you, was called Margaret Starbird. I think that's her name. The woman with the alabaster jar. Woman with the Alabaster Jar was a really good book. Really, really good. And it felt like she was channeling. And when I read it, it felt really much like she was channeling. So, if you want to read the Gospel of Mary, that makes sense. But Mary Magdalene Revealed by, what's her name? Who wrote that? Megan Watterson. I got one of her tarot decks, oracle decks, excuse me, and I didn't buy it. I don't buy it at all. There's another writer I will turn you on to who's really amazing, who's getting absolutely no notoriety. So you've got someone like Megan Watterson getting notoriety when you've got someone like this. Let me share a real fucking kick-ass chick who's writing books. Hang on. Let me look it up on my form. I'm on her Marguerite. Hang on, okay? Marguerite. She's Italian. She lives in Massachusetts. Her name is Margaret Rigioli. And let me open this up real quick. And she teaches classes. She's amazing. She's the real fucking thing. But, you know, in terms of her being famous, nope. Megan Watterson. And I wonder why. Because when you read Megan Watterson's on the Mary Magdalena, it smacks, it's, no offense, I find it to be absolutely insipid shit. It's like Barbie writes about Mary Magdalena. When you read and when you listen to, hang on, okay, I'm going to give you some books I want you to check out on the Oracle of Delphi and things of that nature. And she talks about the Immaculate Conception. Hang on, okay, God damn it, I fucking hate this shit. I'm like looking for her name. The problem with her, she's a PhD, by the way, is her name is so fucking long. But I'm going to give you the titles of her books, okay? And she's had to self-publish. See, this is what I'm talking about. The ones that are really badass aren't being published at all. The ones that are insipid and giving you, you know, Cocoa Pebbles, they're being published, okay? I'm just going to be honest. And so her books, and I don't know why this is happening, but I'm having a complete... What the fuck is going on? Hang on, okay? Let me give you the books in a minute. Hang on. So she's a PhD. Yeah, it's giving me problems. I don't know why. Suddenly Amazon's decided to be a bitch. So let me go on Google and I'll look for books. Okay, bear with me for a minute. And I'm going to give you title of books you need to look up. Okay. Bear with me. She got it. Okay, so she's being published by Inner Traditions. Hang on for a quick second. Inner Traditions Bear Company. So, listen to this. So she's got The Secret Life of Mary. I'm trying to find her goddamn books. I can't believe how they do this. What is wrong with them? This is insane. Hang on. And Amazon. Okay, here we go. So one of the books I got from her was The Mystery Traditions Miraculous Conception, was one of her books. And for some reason, hang on, let me see what's going on here. This is weird. She's got a goddess of the ancient goddess rituals and the oracles of Delphi. You can look it up, but I, for some reason, cannot find. Okay, here we go. Okay, here's the title. So you're going to look for The Cult of Divine Birth in Ancient Greece. The Cult of Divine Birth in Ancient Greece by Marguerite Mary. Okay, you're going to look for that book. The other book that came up that I actually also bought, I bought all three of her books. Virgin Mother Goddesses of Antiquity. Virgin Goddesses Mother, fluff sells and keeps us in ignorance. Absolutely, that's why Megan Watterson and everyone's going crazy over her book, Mary. Like, I got it on Audible, listened to like the first 2 chapters, and I went, I'm returning. This book's full of shit. So I returned it. The Sophia Code, same thing. I was like, she is full of shit. There's no way she's not for real. So if you guys read the Sophia Code and you loved it, I apologize, but that was my first hit. I was like, she's in Mount Shasta, it's snowing, or whatever the hell it was, and she's going on and on and on, and I'm like, dude, like, no, this is bullshit. I could not stand the book. Now, when you read Marguerite, her books that I just shared with you, first of all, like I said, she's a PhD. She's brilliant. I've seen her speak. I love her. She is confident. She's a lioness. But also you feel like she has a lot of wonderful humility. So it's confidence, not arrogance, that I see in her. She's got very kind eyes, and she's absolutely brilliant. And her books, it's not something you can read in one day. It's something you have to sit and really study. It's a study. Margaret, yes, thank you, my love. Thank you. Marguerite Marie Regula. So the books you're looking at for is The Cult of Divine Birth in Ancient Greece, and Virgin Mother goddesses of antiquity, because it's not new. It was in the the Immaculate Conception was a high priestess thing that women did. Okay, it was what they did. And so the first book she came out with was, I believe, at least it's the first one I read, was The Mystery Traditions of Miraculous Conceptions, Mary and the Lineage of Virgin Births. Fucking blew my mind. Okay, and you can buy a copy of it on Thrift Books right now for $12.59, and if you want it brand new, it's $13.45. So it's not expensive. And the Cult of Birth, like when I bought it, I think it was like $45. Right now they have a used one for like $25. Like they sell out, and I think they're out of print. So if you find them, you buy them, throw them in your library, and read them when you're ready. That's what I do sometimes with books. I just buy them because I know that if I don't buy it today, I won't be able to find it, and then they'll be charging $150 on eBay, for example, right? So does that make sense? So any questions on that? So yeah, I mean, Megan Watterson, in terms of an oracle deck, she's fine. She's fine for an oracle deck, but for an actual book, fuck no. I didn't even understand why I was listening to her telling me about her connection with Mary. I'd rather hear it from you, Andromeda, or you, any of you. Why do I want to hear it from a person I don't even know? I want to hear it from someone I know or someone I'm getting to know. And it just seemed very self-important, in my opinion. And I saw nothing that got me closer to Mary. Nothing. The book by Mary Magdalene, since we're talking about her, and I guess we have to talk about her because when the portals open and they start their Project Bluebeam and all that bullshit, you're going to need to connect to actual real powerful souls. You're going to have to, you know what I mean? Like you're going to have to ask the right questions. Like if I were you, I would develop your connections with Krishna, with Buddha, with Yeshua, Mary Magdalena. I would start now. Like don't wait till the last minute and go, oh my God, how do I discern what's going on right now? If this should happen. Alana Fairchild. Alana Fairchild is a good, very good oracle creator, as you well know. She's excellent, but some of her oracle decks are not as solid. I own all of them, and some of them are not as solid. Some of her belief systems, but no one's perfect. You know, I'm not perfect. She's not perfect, but for the most part, she's a heavy hitter. In terms of her books, no, and I remember, here's what turned me off. Me and Andromeda were White Light Oracle, yes. Me and Andromeda were, remember Andromeda where we were looking at, she was offering a free Kali class. Do you remember that, Andromeda? And so we clicked on the email, and so it had said free, and then we clicked on the email and it said $99. That was a month ago. And I was like, what? Hang on. That's a flip and switch. That's bullshit. So I was kind of pissed off. Yes, that was not good. That was not good at all. Because it was like, it said free. And I go, wait, didn't it say free? And Andromeda said, no, it did say free. You're not crazy. And I went, yeah, it did say free. What the fuck? $99. $99? Andromeda and I charge a class that's going to be 2 to 3 hours, right? And you get the pre-recording afterwards with PDF files of more content. It's $23 a person. Alana Fairchild is famous. She's known all over the world. If she gets 1,000 people at $23, let's just calculate. Fuck it. Let's just go. See, some of these New Age people are losing. I like her. Don't get me wrong. I will always use her deck. But let's say she gets 1,000 people on her class. It comes out to $23,000. $23,000 if she did it with 1,000 people showing up. And sure, okay, $99. But why do $99 when the average person can't afford it? But let's say she gets $99, so it's $99,000. I know that's a bigger incentive, but she's selling books, she's making money. That's why I'm not into her. Now, Nessie Gomez, who teaches voice and who teaches how do I put that? How do I put what she teaches? She teaches to find your voice and how to sing and how to chant and how to all that stuff, right? She teaches you how to stop being shy and how to just let go. She's from Portugal. She's an amazing soul. And I took her class. I had COVID, by the way, on the side note. She charged 100, I think, I'm going to say $126. And that $126 covered 2 8-hour classes. It covered the whole entire weekend. Okay? $126. And she might have had, I'm just going to throw in $1,000, 1,000 people. She made $126,000, and $126,000 took her 2 days. 2 days of intensive studying and us practicing on our drum, us listening and writing our own songs or our own wailing or our own primal expression. And 2 days. And for Alana, it was $99 for 2 hours. For, say, maybe 1,000 people, maybe more. When Joe Dispenza does a 6-day class, okay, his retreat, it used to be $19.99. Now I believe it's I think it's $2,100. I'm not sure, but it's 6 fucking days. 6 fucking days at $2,100. You know why? Because he knows that the hotel's going to cost money. It's 6-7 days. I think it's a total of 7 days, but it's 6 nights and 7 days and 6 nights, that kind of thing. And he charges very minimal. You can slap that on your credit card. $2,100. I'm going in, and then I'm going to get an Airbnb, or I'm going to stay at the hotel. I'm going to stay at the cheapest motel. And hell, I might even sleep sometimes and just spend the night with, whatever. Share the room with 3 other people or whatever. And so for $5,000, you're in, right? $2,100 for 7 days, 6 to 7 days. $2,100 multiplied by 300 people, because that's what he does, right? He'll have 300 to 400 people. So let's just say 400 people. I want you to look at who's really spiritually aligned. Comes out to 840, what is it, am I correct? Yeah, $840,000, right? Okay, well, so he's made damn near $1 million. But the point is, he's not ripping anyone off. He's making it approachable. Am I correct or am I wrong on the math? Whatever, the point is he's not trying to rip us off at $2,100 for 7 days. That's unheard of. And yet you will find retreats where you can't even afford it. You can't even afford it because it does not include the hotel. It doesn't include this. It doesn't include that. It doesn't include any of that. Okay? So $2,100 is and he's teaching you mind-altering, life-changing wisdoms. When you see people who claim that they're spiritual, that's why I love Nessie Gomez before I let go of her. Nessie Gomez, you can look up Anyone Can Sing on YouTube and it will blow your mind. And she's actually performing a poem written by, I forgot the guy's name, but it's a man who wrote the poem. And Anyone Can Sing is about exploding out of your throat chakra, your truth, your primal. Okay? And the class was well worth it. As soon as, if she ever offers another class, I'm fucking doing it. Just because it's therapeutic. Just because I get to see women on a Zoom that are from all over the world, and everyone's got their little shaman drum, and we're all sitting there excited, And it was very, very therapeutic. But when you see $99 for 2 hours, that's not cool. Unless it's a one-on-one thing going on. Like, for example, I charge $108 for 1 hour of readings, right? But I'm one-on-one. I'm talking about when you're going to have 1,000 people signing up, 500 to 1,000 people. At that point, you drop the price because you figure, what the hell? I'm going to get all these people, and I know I'm going to make a certain amount, and I get to head a lot of people, and I get to make it affordable for a lot of people who could actually benefit from my work, from what I'm going to share. You see? And a lot of people in the spiritual community are just not thinking that way. They just want to get as much as they can. And so you're going to have to you got to understand, it's crazy. So 126 for her. At some point, me and Andromeda are looking to offer classes in the same vein, one 4 or 5 hours for a certain amount of a cost that's affordable, but that is going to give you a lot of value, and you can revisit later on because it's pre-recorded. For example, the spiritual community puts a lot of pressure, and people who are not in the spiritual community will put pressure on you for charging. They'll actually act like because you're spiritual, you should be doing it for free. And that is a problem. And that is not right. Your hairdresser, you'd never expect your hairdresser to color your hair for free, nor would you expect your plastic surgeon or your Botox person or your nail technician to do it for free. But for some reason, when you're in spiritual work, people think you're going to do it for free. And that's not okay. So for many of you who are going to start creating your own business as a heart-centered business, meaning you're going to be a healer of some kind, whether it's Reiki or Reiki and sound healing or hypnotherapy, whatever the hell you're going to do, for the most part, people are very appreciative and honor you, but you will have to put boundaries and also boundaries to yourself when you decide to price your work. There are people that, like, for example, I'll give you an example. There are a lot of people who are readers, tarot readers, and they charge like between $150 to $200, and it's a pre-record. In other words, they never get to talk to you. You send in like 3 or 4 questions. They do the reading. It's pre-recorded. They send you the file, and that's it. And there's something not good there, because there are nuances of the human voice that you're going to miss, that the reader's going to miss. And voice is everything in a person, in a reading. In hypnotherapy, you have to see the person. In a reading, you don't necessarily have to see the person, but you definitely have to hear their voice, because that frequency is going to give you downloads. That should make sense to you. Can a person do an accurate reading that is pre-recorded? Yes, if they use, should make sense to you. Can a person do an accurate reading that is pre-recorded? Yes, if they use tarot. The tarot card's going to say yes. But the nuances of, is Joe going to love me? Is Joe going to come back healed? Is Joe going to be kind to me? Is Joe going to be monogamous this time? Is Joe still going to be addicted? All that shit. See, you can only ask one question at a time. So all of these nuances you get when you're in a reading with a person. Because they're going to read and go, yes, he's coming back, but the problem is X, Y, and Z. And so it's going to be a much more thorough reading if you are listening to, and you're speaking to your reader, your tarot reader, or your psychic, or whatever you're using. So it's always best to do it. What do you think about Teal Swan? Energy exchange is an important karmic principle. I 100% agree. Thank you. What do I think about Teal Swan? Well, I don't like Teal Swan. However, I did see her on the Regina Meredith interview, which you guys should look up on Gaia.com. And hang on for a quick second. Let me see if I can find the title for you so you guys can find it easily. Let me see if I can go on my Gaia, because right now my computer is like giving me being a little, hang on, okay? And let me see if I can log on. Maybe so. Oh my God, I can actually log on. That's exciting. See, usually I do everything on my tablet, but let me look up Teal Swan and give you, now her interview, I highly recommend, because that gave me a lot of insight in her trauma. And I think it was called, hang on. Yeah, it was called Open Shadow. No, that's her documentary, sorry. It was in Open Minds, and she ended up being interviewed by Regina Meredith. So if I were you, I would do a search on Regina Meredith, then put in Teal Swan, and that should come up. Okay? And then I would highly, recommend that you watch it. Open Shadow, the story of Teal Swan. I didn't really like it. I thought it was, it wasn't as in-depth as her interview. And we're talking about MK Ultra techniques, demonic shit, meaning satanic occultist shit, things that David Icke has been talking about for like decades. And it was what I will say, and what I will say that I admire about her is that she was able to break away from her brainwashing. And no one can take that away from her. Not me, not anyone. There is a reptilian quality about her, but maybe it's because she had to shut a lot of portals down for her to survive, or else she would have gone insane, to be fair to her. And I cannot possibly understand the trauma she went through and some of the things she was forced to do. I can't possibly. And so the MK Ultra, the hypnotherapy, the shit she was made to take, you know, I won't say it here because I don't want to get pulled. And how they controlled her, how this particular man controlled her, and how her family was all, again, born again, you know, oh my God, Jesus, and all the Bible, the Bible, the Bible. Okay, always the Bible. The Bible's always behind some of this shit. It's very interesting to me. Don't get me wrong, because for them to steal Yeshua's beautiful mind, heart, soul, wisdom, and then bastardized his beautiful connection with Mary Magdalena, and then still we got some of the nectar out of Yeshua, is still a fucking miracle, considering all the crap that they did to people. Okay, just saying. I just bought a book called Unearthing the Lost Words of Jesus, the Discovery and Text of the Gospel of Thomas, right? And this book's amazing. It's a tiny little book. And it's called, the first thing is The Discovery. It was written by, hang on, let me tell you, John Dart and Ray Riegert. Just look up Unearthing the Lost Words of Jesus. And it starts out with Blood Feud. And it talks about the tribes in the desert. And it was found in December 1945 in Egypt, as you probably know, the Dead Sea Scrolls. And it talks about how and it's got pictures of the Dead Sea Scrolls as it was found. And you've got to understand that why was it found in a desert, in a cave, that was found, in other words, why was it in a cave? If Jesus's words were so important and loved, why would people have taken the work and hidden it in urns in a cave? And the person, this will blow your mind, the person who found it, his name was Muhammad Ali. I can't make this shit up. The discovery of the Nag Hammadi library in front of a cave of Jabal al-Tarif. My point is, everything that was good, they took bits of it. This is why when you look at, for example, I'm jumping right now in thought because it just occurred to me. When you look at Bashar, okay, when you look at the Bible, when you look at any scriptures, they'll take pieces of gold. And you'll go, wow, yeah, this is really good. And then they'll throw fuckery in it. And you'll go, wait, hang on. But you'll go, no, you trust whatever the words of God are. Just trust. Everything that's in here is all gold. And you're like, no, hang on. I don't think, no, this doesn't feel right to me. And you lose your ability to discern. This goes on for centuries, right? Incarnation after incarnation. And so finally, here we are in the 21st century going, yeah, today, fuck you. I decide that this is not good. This is good. This is not good. And because we've been hunting for pure knowledge, like Yeshua's knowledge, lost knowledge, and things of like nature, a lot of things are surfacing. And we're able to gather the lost pieces of the nectar we have been hungry, thirsty for. But you have to understand that for like damn near 2 to 5. I know that the writings of the Bible as we know it, for example, as an example, was not written until 500 years after he was gone, after Yeshua had passed. So, okay, so we're going to say 1500 years, we definitely were manipulated and told that everything in that book was truth and to be believed. Meanwhile, as I was telling you guys earlier, I came across some stuff, and I'm in the Talmud that really, really, really broke my heart. And there are things that people in these ancient writings, and this is something I used to tell my twin when I read the Bhagavad Gita. The original version that I read of the Bhagavad Gita was beautiful. All of it was beautiful until it said that women's souls, which was that concept that women had subgrade souls, was written in the Bible. It was written in the Torah. It was written all of it, including the Bhagavad Gita. It said that we were akin to cattle, that to be born as women was a punishment. Okay? This goes back all the way to Adam and Eve. And so, of course, being me, I rebelled. And so I was never able to actually align myself with any holy book because all of them had something of a fuckery that said that something that was either deviant or wrong, just morally wrong. And for me to have more morals than a holy book was weird to me. That shouldn't be. These holy words should be more moral than me. In fact, they should be teaching me about morality. And this is one of the things I said to my twin. I said many times, you understand that these things were written by men that had a lot of problems in the root chakra, and men that wanted to control women, and many of these men who didn't even like women, much less, So how am I going to believe holy books, and I'm supposed to believe it's the word of God, when I know for a fact that some of these gods were Anunnaki? So now what? And so for souls like us, many of us have been searching for the truth, and the truth is finally surfacing. But with that surfaces some very deviant, weird shit in these holy books that were written 3,000 years, 6,000 years. And when you start reading those books and you go, wait, what? You're either going to start crying, you're going to be shook, and it's going to totally make you rethink everything about the word holy when it's related to a book written by the egoic framework of men. No offense to men, guys. I'm not talking about divine masculines, because you wouldn't write this shit. We have the amazing divine masculines right now writing amazing work. Deepak Chopra, Rudy Tanzi, Michael Newton, Michael Singer, Dr. Joe Dispenza. I bring up these guys again and again and again. So I'm not talking about those men. I'm talking about men in the ancient days that thought it was okay to marry certain aged girls and to do certain things. Okay, I'm just going to say. Okay? And today I read something in an ancient, I don't even want to say it, and I couldn't fucking believe it. I sent the pages to Andromeda Flame, to my son, to Divine Masculine, a friend of mine who's my buddy, and I was shook. Because this shit was written 3,000 years ago, at the minimum. And it had never, ever been edited. And it should have been. And so discernment is going to come from absolute irreverence of authority figures, which includes anything you can imagine in that term, authority figures. And you're going to have to turn your back on a lot of things to heal and to go into your healing journey. Classic propaganda techniques give 80% plausible and drop in the BS. Exactly. The BS and the deviant in the BS. Deviancy. Normalized deviancy. You understand on Teal Swan. Does that make sense? And I'm unfortunately unable to give you details because you need to find it yourself, just like I did. I wanted to find out about something, and I simply typed it in, and boy, did I get, within seconds, I got the answer, and I was like, shook. This is also why I was telling, right, Andromeda, I was saying, do you want to come on, but don't say what it was? Do you want to jump on if you want, or are you busy? But I'll just send you the invite, but if you don't want to come, it's fine. Don't worry. But the ability for you to break against what you've been told by people you think you should respect is going to be the greatest flex you'll master in this incarnation. And believe me, many of us will agree with you. You'll think, oh, well, no one's going to believe this, or no one's going to agree with me. We will agree with you. We are in agreement as to what we want in the new earth. We're in agreement. We're in agreement that what is deviant is deviant. We're in agreement that as long as hands off to the children, you're good to go. Hands off, don't touch the kids, and you're good to go. Hands off to the animals and the children, you're good to go. Let me add that just in case. And things like that, we all agree on. When it gets sketchy is when holy books tell you the opposite. That's when it gets weird. That's when you have to say, I don't give a fuck who's teaching this shit. It's a fucking hell to the no, and you cannot be in my circle. Like, you need to get the fuck out of my realm because I might hurt you. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that as you start, I highly suggest you start buying these holy books and start studying them. Okay? And you will find, one day you'll find what I'm talking about. Oh, got you. You're still on call. I got you. One day you'll come across one of the things I'm talking about, and I wish I could share it with you. And I'm not trying to be obtuse, or I'm not trying to be mysterious. I actually can't, because I could get my whole fucking channel pulled as misinformation when it's actually in black and white. It blew my mind. And there's anyway, so if you don't know who David Icke is, David Icke is spelled hang on, ICKE, and watch the documentary Renegade. Why am I asking you to watch it? Because when you see how he was upgraded, how the light beings guided him to this place in South America, and when you see him upgraded, it will blow your mind. But it will also make you understand that Kundalini rising is not always sexual, and you don't always need your twin. And that's another thing. And Kundalini rising comes to you in waves. What does that mean? It doesn't come to you all at once. It can't, or else you go insane. I keep saying that to people. And we've all had Kundalini rising, many of us, and I'll tell you why. If you're seeing angel numbers, if you know the unspoken knowing, not with arrogance, but just knowing, if you know that the more you know, the less you know. If you're reading esoteric shit and it fills your soul with an understanding of, oh my God, I'm not crazy, I get this, I want more. Is there more to read, more to understand? Then most likely you've had your Kundalini awakened already. Baby steps of evolution, and Kundalini is part of it. So anyway, with him, he had a Kundalini awakening that was pretty intense, pretty fucking intense, and what he thought was minutes lasted hours. So I hope you go see that movie. Documentary. The other documentary I'd love for you to see is called Psychedelia. It's a whole series on plant medicine. I'm kind of giving you like a whole bunch of stuff that I'd like you to explore. Gaia.com is going to make you feel less crazy than you've ever believed, because you're going to see all kinds of people who are going to out-woo-hoo you. So that should make you feel good. You won't feel lonely. You'll go, wow, I thought I was crazy. And you'll realize the only thing they don't have, honestly, is anything about twin flames. And it's probably because, to be fair, there's so many kooks writing about twin flames and talking about twin flames that who the fuck knows, you know what I mean? And they'd rather not go there. But let me see if they have anything with twin flames. I just saw twin flame reincarnation. Yeah. Ascension, twin flame, and soul contract. Let me see where that is. Beyond belief is a twin flame. Now, one of the things I always hear with the supposed, again, I have no respect for a lot of people. I respect people who I feel are, what's the word? Don't think they know everything. And so there is a twin flame. I'm going to check it out. I'll let you know what I think. I know that agreements with other souls can be soulmates or even twin flames connected. It looks like she believes in it. Okay, good. That's good. That's good to see. And soul contracts. There's, beyond belief. Beyond belief with Nori, he kind of annoys the shit out of me because he asks really ridiculous questions, but I guess people need that. And Open Minds, which is Regina Meredith's show. I've been watching her show since I think 2013 or 2014. She's amazing. I love being out-woohooed, particularly when it comes to aliens. I know, me too. You have to be out-woohooed. And I would say there are lots, like Matthias Di Stefano. I'm going to go ahead and look up for his. Hang on, let me look up Matthias Di Stefano. Stefano. He's totally out-woohooed all of us. Stefano. Let me see if I can find him on Gaia. Initiation. That's what it was called. It was called Initiation. So yeah, a whole series. He went into the deep history of Atlantis and Mu. It's called Initiation with Matthias Di Stefano. Probably the best show ever. He had some other ones that weren't, I'm going to be blunt, they weren't as good. But Initiation episode series 1 and 2 is excellent. I couldn't get enough. It was beautiful. And then he has a whole series of The Journey of Remembering. which, you know, I mean, I was not interested in that at all, because we all have our own process and his process is not ours. There's so much on Twins on Gaia, but it's good. I live it. I don't feel like watching it. No kidding. Who wants to? When you're living it, you don't need to watch it. You're already in the drama when you're in a twin. And then they have twin flames and reincarnation. I never, you know, I don't look up twin flame. This is my first time, actually. I just don't look up that stuff. Why? Because when I make content, I'm basing my content on my own experience and my clients. So I don't want to be an influence. But I've done enough content now to feel comfortable in now looking at other people's, you know, opinions on it. Yeah, so what was interesting with her, what they're saying here is she begins, it's a fiction, she writes a fiction about twin flames. She says it begins in Atlantis and continued over the ages. So my book, Recall, is not a fiction. It's an actual true story, and it's based on, believe it or not, Mesopotamia and the crystal skull. And unfortunately, things that people did in the ancient world that were very fucked up. So it's about that. It's about, you know, trauma. So her love story is about love, you know. It's fine. But it's a fiction is the problem. So I'm wondering, did you ever see that? Andromeda? I think it was called, her name is called Gates McKibben, and it's her twin flame reincarnation story. I think I might have stumbled on that because it's Open Minds and I didn't want to watch it. Because the minute I realized it was about it was a fiction, I was not interested. I was like, who needs a fiction when there's all these twin flames living? Yeah, I started watching it and kind of switched off. Yeah, because it was boring. Because it was about it was about, you know, it was about no one you could relate to. Because I'm wondering, is she in a twin flame journey, or did she just, you know what I mean? Has she ever experienced that, or is she write what she had heard? Because when you have lived the twin flame, twin ray journey, like there's so much rich story in your own experience. You don't need to make shit up. The only reason why you would make it up, I mean, not make it up, but sell it as fiction is because you know people will totally, you know, reject that it's true. That's the only reason you would, which is what I did back when it was first published. The other person to look at is interviews with extra dimensional beings, and Ruben Langdon. He's pretty cool. There is some arrogance in him, unfortunately, which I find really interesting with Dr. Joe Dispenza. Not once do I ever feel or pick up on any arrogance whatsoever. None. Yeah, who needs the fiction when the drama, trauma, magic is real? Exactly. So Joe Dispenza has a whole series called Rewired, about rewiring the brain and the pineal gland. It's a whole series. And if you're looking to wake up on multiple levels, I would highly recommend it. And so that's about all I have to say on that. So we started out this whole live with Project Bluebeam. I kind of hopefully helped you. If you are... not to insult you in any way, but if you're in a fearful state, if some of the things that are awakening you are kind of scaring you, if you feel like you're going crazy, please don't go for the okie doke. Whatever erupts in the sky, whatever happens, if Project Bluebeam is going to come to pass, and if that's what they're programming us to get ready to see or to experience, just know one thing, that it's bullshit. And it's another psyop, and just go into yourself, close your eyes, and move away from that energy and ask yourself, is this for real? What is real? Ask, first of all, what is real? What is my truth? I'm ready to go into 5D. Like I'm ready now. Just take me now. I'm not dealing with this bullshit. And just claim it. Claim it. And others will need an obeyances to the Bluebeam bullshit. Look, have you gone to Whole Foods, any of you? Have you seen the chip where you can actually pay with your hand? And the problem with that is that the mark of the beast, this, that, and the other, play. Now, I am not Christian. The last time I read a Bible for real was probably when I was in school at 14. But a lot of it struck me. Not to mention, I also read Nostradamus. Now that's in my 20s, and his prophecies, and I've studied him a lot. I have to admit, but when I started going to Whole Foods and I saw that people could pay with the palms of their hands because they had the chip in the palm of their hand, and people are like nonchalantly going, "Oh yeah, I'm going to pay with my hand." I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with them? Don't they understand what that means? It's weird to me. It's one thing to not believe in the books, but it's a good idea to read Revelation. I mean, I haven't read it, but I know enough to know some of the signs, and I'll talk to someone who is or who was raised Catholic, and I will ask them, wait, hang on, I remember X, Y, and Z. Remember Andromeda? I'll ask you, because she was raised Catholic, and she's no longer, obviously, but I will ask her questions, and I'll say, I remember this in the Revelation, am I correct? And we'll shoot the shit and chew on the fat and kind of try to figure this, that, and the other out. It fascinates us, one, but we also want to know where's the shit coming from and what should we be watching for? Okay? And we've been having signs after signs. I don't know if you remember, but on TikTok, and I actually downloaded the video, there was an angel. Do you remember the angel? That would look like it was made out of cement, made out of stone, out of Russia. Do you remember that angel? It was about a year ago. And it was called Evidence Angel Existed, Fallen Angel Statue in Russia. And people were doing close-ups of this angel, and it looks like it has a shroud over it, and it's holding a sword. It looks like a petrified angel. Did you look it up? You can put petrified angel on TikTok, and you'll see, and then you start looking for the, and it's in Russian. In the beginning, it's in Russian, and people were going crazy over it. And it has a shield and a sword, and it looks like something happened, and it's too. Look it up. Here's why. Because little by little, we've been getting little signs about truth. Now, could it be a psyop? It could, except when I first saw it, I went, wait, hang on. This is not a joke. This is real. There's certain things you can tell that it's bullshit. And there's certain things you got to stop from it and go, wait. The Bible is important. So many references in literature. Is not an encyclopedia. No. We've got a lot of tips there. A lot of tips of things coming in. It was almost like there were warnings and wisdoms. And then the Old Testament to me is absolute bullshit with the God of the Old Testament. You know, the vengeful God, the evil God, the jealous. Can you imagine a jealous God? What the fuck? And people were accepting that. And thinking, oh yeah, that's just how God is. We're all born with sin. Just shit like that. It was just ridiculous. But then you've got Revelation. Then you have the Songs of Solomon. It's weird. I think that's the side move. You put really good stuff that is undeniably good, and then you throw in your fuckery to confuse people and to keep them to do what you want them to do. So I think it's interesting. Anyway, anybody have any comments or whatever? I hope I'm not boring you. I'm just like talking. Today I'm just rambling and talking. After we finished the Project Bluebeam, which is very quick, there are 2 books that are online on Amazon you may want to look up. Again, just before I let you go, Project Bluebeam was written and exposed by a poet journalist who was born in Canada. His name was Serge Monast, Monast. And the books are online. There's 2 books, one written about his Project Bluebeam, and the other one is his. And his book is only 48 pages long. I actually bought it because I want to know what he wrote. And it's interesting and important to me, because whatever is going to make people panic, my job as a spiritualist is to understand it, so I can, at some point soon, I will read from it, so I can read it to you, and you guys can decide what you think. These ancient, forgotten, and suppressed texts. Thanks for sharing today, Sid. Thank you, little brother. It's good to see you, as always. Sumerian tablets, Genesis of Eridu, tablets of Shamash. Thank you. Very, very good. These are ancient and forgotten texts, suppressed texts. Well, you'll have to. So, which one do you think is most important? We know the Sumerian tablets with Zachariah Stitchin. I talk about that all the time. Genesis of Eridu, and tablets of Shamash. Of the two, what would be the most important? Can you tell us what would be the most important? Let me look up Genesis of Eridu. Okay, let me look it up and see what comes up. Hang on. I'm going to Google it. Genesis of Eridu. Okay, let's look. Hang on. Eridu. Okay. Okay, let me read it to you. The Eridu Genesis is a Sumerian creation myth and flood story that is considered the earliest known account of a worldwide flood. The story begins with the creation of the world and the gods by Enlil and Enki and Nihursag. The gods then create man from clay to care for the land and worship the gods. Cities are built, with Eridu being the first and considered the oldest city in the world. The gods eventually decide to destroy humanity with a flood. Enki reveals the plan to Ziusudra, a humble and obedient man who builds a boat to survive the flood. Did you just hear this? Did you just hear what I just said? The gods eventually decide to destroy humanity with a flood. Enki reveals the plan to Ziusudra. Well, that would be Noah, right? In the Bible. You can't trust the Bible. All this shit comes from the Sumerian tablets. Isn't that awful? A humble and obedient man who builds a boat to survive the flood, Ziusudra, is rewarded with immortality for his goodly life. Origin. The story is thought to be much older than its approximate date of 1600 BC. It was discovered in 1893 during excavation in Mesopotamia. There you go. The Eridu Genesis influenced many other works, including the Egyptian flood story, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and the biblical narrative of Noah. Influence? Fucking, it's plagiarism. If you wrote a paper like that and you said that my Noah's Ark is an original story, you get kicked out of college, okay? It's... I fucking don't believe it. Hang on for a quick second. Noah, a.k.a. Atrahasi. Let me look. Hang on, let me go back. Hang on. They all corroborate each other. Read Epic of Humanity, Billy Carson. It's all broken down. Hang on for... There are ancient... Okay, let's go back to the other one. Let's look at Tablets of Shamash. It sounds very Persian, Iranian, Persian. Tablets, hang on. Let's look at that. Tablets of Shamash. There we go. And there's a whole free PDF, by the way, but I'm just going to read you the cliff notes. The Tablet of Shamash is a stele covered from the ancient Babylonian city of Sippar in southern Iraq in 1888. Is now a major piece in the British Museum. Okay, like usual. Hang on for a quick second. Location Tablet of Shamash. I wonder if it was stolen during the sacking of... I'm not even going to say it. Hang on, okay? I'm just trying to look at that. Let me see what else you wrote. I'm just going to take some notes and start looking. Okay. Noah. Yeah, Noah's Ark. Yeah. That was the story of Eridu. Okay, see full PDF. Bear with me. Sun God Tablet, Tablet of Shamash, Golden Ratio, and Fibonacci Analysis. You got to be joking. Let me see if it won't open. Sorry about that, so forget that. Decoding Prehistoric Art, The Principles of Nature. No. I can't find cuneiform text from Babylonian. Mostly oh, here we go. Tablet of Shamash, but it's from Wikipedia, which means we can't really believe anything. But we'll read, and we're going to discern whether or not we can believe this. The Tablet of Shamash, also known as the Sun God Tablet or the Nabua Pali Dina Tablet, is a stele, which means it's like it's a tablet. It's like recovered from the ancient Babylonian city of Sippar in southern Iraq in 1888. Is now a major piece in the British Museum. Fucking, they have everything. An ancient Middle East collection, and is a visual attestation of Babylonian cosmology. It is dated in the reign of King Nabu Apla Idani. So that would have been 888 BC. The tablet was discovered during excavation by Homaz Rassam between 1878 and 1883. The tablet was found complete but broken in two large pieces. By the time King Nabopolassar, between 625 and 605 BC, it had broken into 4 parts and had been repaired. The terracotta coffer also contained 2 clay impressions of the tablet. Presentation scene. The coffer was sealed under an asphalt template floor. It's been suggested that the coffer also contained a second tablet as well as a third clay impression, now in the Istanbul Museum. Wow. But what it says, it's not saying. Like, what was the importance of it besides it being very ancient? It doesn't say. All right, so, and those are just the things that they have discovered, that they have allowed us to know about. Remember that. Okay? Just because I'm telling you this doesn't mean we know everything. A lot of shit was excavated and they hid. Because it said things that could change the entire collective consciousness. That's something else we need to understand. So, any questions on that? So when we look at things that have been smuggled, hidden, buried, and they expose it to us, there's a reason. And for every one thing we know about, there are probably 20, 30 things they've hidden from us. And it's in the hands of the 1% for their own purpose. You know, movies like Indiana Jones and what was the first one called? Indiana Jones and what was it called? Indiana Jones. I'm trying to remember. Indiana Jones. When the hell was it called? It wasn't called the Temple of Doom. Raiders of the Lost Ark. That was the one. Remember in Raiders of the Lost Ark how the guy with the mustache, the German officers were all hunting for the Lost Ark? And then the Americans have it, and the last scene we see, we're panning away, and it's put in a massive wooden box, and it's stored in a huge warehouse, and they pan away, and we all go home, and we never think about it. There are a lot of these things that were found that were stored and lost in storage. And I often wonder what these items are. Are they items like skull crystals? Are they items like ancient totems and ancient powers that could have helped us by now? And is that what's going to be unearthed? Is the collapse of the infrastructure as we know it going to allow us to walk into the Vatican and to pull out? I hope to God it's done by good people who are caring and careful, so that we can pull out these books that may actually fall apart in our hands like dust. And hopefully we'll be able to remove them and keep them and care for them in other hermetically sealed rooms, where we're paying attention to these books until we can find scholars who can translate and put it into the common language of the people. There's going to be a lot of awakenings and a lot of shaking. And the Project Bluebeam, let me ask you this, Andromeda. Do you remember how long the rapture lasts for? How long? Because supposedly Bluebeam is going to also expose the rapture. So is it a 7-year cycle? All right, let's look. The rapture is a Christian belief that all believers, both living and dead, will be resurrected and taken into heaven to meet Jesus Christ at the second coming. The term rapture does not appear in the New Testament, but the Apostle Paul's first letter to the Thessalonians described the event. The rapture is described as a rescue operation that will take place in the blink of an eye. Believers will be caught up in the clouds to meet Jesus in the air, and they will receive new bodies. I find it interesting that people believe that, but they don't believe in the new earth. You know what I mean? I'm like, thank you. I appreciate you, my love. You get how, did you hear what I just, I'm in shock. Okay. And there's paintings, if you look it up. So they believe that they will be risen up to meet. They'll have a personal meeting with Jesus Christ because, and then they will be given new bodies. They believe in all that, but they don't believe in the new earth. Wow, that is amazing. I'm in shock. I'm like blown away. Like, what the fuck? In the rapture, in Christianity, eschatological concern with the last things and end time, believe that both living and dead believers will ascend into heaven to meet Jesus Christ in the second coming. When is the rapture supposed to come? Before he established his kingdom on earth, Jesus will come for his church, an event commonly referred to as the rapture. At the time, the dead in Christ will be raised, and living Christians will be caught up to meet the Lord in the air and be with him forever. 7 signs of the coming. This is all Google, okay? We're just doing this for entertainment, okay? Let's not believe everything we read, especially from these fucking search engines. But what the hell? These are Cliff Notes. The age of technology, the gospel to the world, the environmental crisis, denial of the second coming. Denial of the second coming. So he's actually not coming down to walk among the people. They're being airlifted. It's like Scotty beam me up. So they believe in Scotty beam me up only when this is the rapture, but not any other time. Like, we can't actually create the new earth. We can't actually cross these crystalline bridges of consciousness and telepathically be able to speak with each other, be able to create at will, no longer pay taxes, all of that. We're going to just airlift out of this planet. Do you see why planet Earth is crying and sobbing? Because no matter how you slice it, everyone wants to get the fuck out of here. And no one's thought to say, wait, hang on. Again, I'm repeating myself and I apologize. Planet Earth's not the problem. Do you realize that the people who believe this, what I've just read, are thinking that the price for them to be airlifted, beam me up, Scotty, they're actually believing that the sacrifice with the children in Gaza is the price to pay for that. And they believe that such an entity would say, oh yeah, I bless you. Yeah, go ahead, do your geno. Don't worry, the rapture is coming. I'll airlift you up. You'll have brand new bodies. Oh, you have a weight problem? Don't worry, you'll look fabulous. Better than any plastic surgeon in New York. The mentality. Do you see the mentality? Do I believe in Yeshua? Yes. Do I believe he's coming? No. I wouldn't trust anyone on this planet right now. The way people think, especially the leaders, it'd be dangerous for Yeshua to come here, much less Krishna. Him and his blue skin. Oh no. He'd probably be tasered. Okay, so I'm sorry. I can't. Denial of the second coming. False Christ. Well, here comes Project Bluebeam. Increase in the supernatural. Wait, hang on. Increase in the supernatural. So more psychics, more telepathy, twin flames, twin rays, all the good stuff that's actually making us rise. It's like, that's evil. And lovelessness. Well, I have to agree. There are parts in the world right now where there's absolutely no love, no food, no water, and there's geno going on. I happen to agree with that. I'm not really funny. So I think this is funny. Oh Lord. Okay. So now what is in the Revelation, which was interesting, and me and Andromeda were talking about it. We were trying to figure out who was the whore of Babylon. And we kind of figured it was Kamala for the hell of it. The woman clothed in the sun, Revelation, a great sign, the great red dragon, Satan, the signs performed by a land beast with horns like lamb, the land beast whose power comes from the sea beast, the 7 angel ministers with 7 chalices full of plagues, the spirit of demon signs, the false prophet signs. Well, we have a hell of a lot of false prophets, so I agree with that. You can't disagree. Who is left behind the rapture? That should be interesting to you, because we'll be crossing bridges to the 5D. Okay, hang on. I gotta calm down. I'm gonna get the giggles. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna be the caretakers and the gardeners of this beautiful planet. But let me just say who is gonna be left behind. There is this is where the phrase left behind comes from, that has been attached to rapture theology. The most common interpretation is that Jesus will return to take people to his heaven, while those who do not believe in him will be left behind on earth to suffer God's judgment. It's funny, yet at the same time, there's this beautiful line that says, "The meek shall inherit the earth." So, what are the signs of what are the signs that Jesus is coming, or rather that we as lions are coming as his fractal energy? The rise of false cults, Matthew 24:5. Many shall go to and fro, Daniel. The signs of the fig tree, I don't know what that means. The increase in the numbers and diversity of earthquakes. Apostasy of the church, the corruption of the world through lust. Well, I could say so much about that. The return of the days of Noah. Well, we know what that means, flooding. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of flooding. But it's very possible that many of the things that we see in Revelation was written about in the Sumerian tablets, which it sounds like it was. A lot of this stuff is cliff notes from the Sumerian tablets and incorporated into the Bible. So Constantine did his work. Yes, there was a play, Jesus, the Guantanamo years. He was arrested at U.S. immigration. Was that a play? It's not funny, it's reality. I hear you. So, we have to really look at all of this. And there are truths in this. That's the interesting thing about reading from various sources, is that there will always be truth in aspects. So you take the truth and then you realize that this is fear-based shit. And what is my connection with Yeshua? What is my connection with Mary Magdalene? I go all the way up to Krishna. I go all the way up to the all. Again, I remind you to read the Emerald Tablet. I'm ashamed. I just started reading. I can't believe I did not read it sooner. I'm ashamed, because in it, as I was reading it, I saw a lot of similarities that were plucked and thrown into the Bible. So that's not good. That means that there were some things that were stolen and misappropriated, and no footnotes to say, oh, by the way, that comes from the Emerald Tablet, which would have been a good thing to do. What are the 4 plagues in Revelation? Let's look at that. Listen to that. The book of Revelation in the New Testament lists the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse: conquest, war, famine, and death. Well, guess what? We're seeing it all at once. While in the Old Testament's book of Ezekiel, there are sword, famine, wild beasts, and pestilence or plague. Hang on. Is it true that 144,000, this is an important number for us, 144,000 people will go to heaven? Jehovah's Witnesses believe a literal 144,000, no more or no less, will rule with Christ in heaven over the subjects on earth. For the Jehovah's Witness, the 144,000 are the number of those from the time of Christ to 1935, although that number gets changed most recently. Do you see how, again, the number of 144,000 has been misappropriated again? How do you know Judgment Day is coming? While interpretation of what the Quran and Hadith say about the end of times are diverse and complex, the signs of Judgment Day's arrival include disruption in the order of both human morality, well, we can't disagree, look at P. Diddy, look at the Menendez brothers and their parents, and the natural world, but also the appearance of the saviors, Mahdi and Jesus, which is seen to represent the ultimate. What comes after judgment? After the judgment, the righteous will go to their eternal reward in heaven, and the accursed will depart to hell. The issue of this judgment shall be permanent separation of the evil and this good, the righteous and the wicked. Now, this is interesting because they're talking about frequency separation, frequency mismatch. In other words, your frequency, right, as you raise your frequency to the all, to God, to love, to wanting abundance for all, wanting the best, not wanting to harm anyone, not wanting to hurt anyone, not wanting to delete anyone. That is not a frequency match to people who are doing the opposite, who are creating famine, who are genuine, who are laughing, who are mocking, who think they are the chosen one. That kind of incredible misplaced arrogance. This is a frequency mismatch. So heaven and hell is a very simple term for people who don't understand the nuances of what that means in the spiritual world. So that's true, right? We can agree that this, yeah, there you go. However, we're going to add to it because it's not just black and white like that. There's a nuance to that. And the reality is it's a mismatch. So what happens? Well, definitely 144,000 will be here to help the evolution and the awakening of as many of the collective as possible. That's the goal of the light bringers. When one dies, another is awakened or has been awakened, comes and steps forward, right? That's how it works. When one twin separates, another twin set is introduced. There's multiple nuances to the 144,000. It's certainly what they've misappropriated something that they have no idea. I'm going to be, I might sound arrogant. They don't know what they're talking about. And so what we can say, and we can agree, is that what we're about to go through is a massive split. That's what they're talking about. A massive split of consciousness. Okay? What are the disasters in revelation? I'm tired. Okay, we are the chosen ones. No, we're not. That's my whole point. We're not. We're the volunteers. I love God. Yes, I do too. All right? So, but the arrogance of saying you are the chosen one, no, that's not true. We can't, Anyway, I have more to say, and I don't have time for this. Destruction of vegetation, revelation. Okay, destruction of vegetation. What does that mean? GMO. Monsanto. That's what it means. Devastation of oceans and sea life. We got plastic. We got miles and miles of plastic. We got oil spills. Devastation of rivers and fresh water. We got trains spilling all their toxic shit in it. Yeah, I would say that. Sun, moon, and stars are darkened. Well, we're seeing some changes. Rise of military power. Well, we're sending billions of dollars to fucking other people while we got homeless people in tents. Rise of competing military power. Yes, well, the Russians and the Chinese are talking. I'd say, yeah, we're there. So that's not to be freaking out. It's to say, okay, let's get it together. What are we going to do now? Well, what you're going to wake up even more. More and more and more waking up. So, yeah, I could see how Bluebeam would work. I could see Bluebeam being a great success. It's one of the greatest show on the planet. Everyone freaks out, kneels down, and gives up their autonomy and their ability to discern and to think, and because of fear. The minute you use your free will to be afraid of God, you've lost the plot. Because the last thing truly God wants is for you to be afraid. See, it doesn't want you to come to God afraid. It doesn't. It's like your daddy getting you to get the switch and beats the shit out of you so that you will love your father. I mean, that's insane shit. That's insane. But this is what's being taught for thousands of years. And so God, if you really think about God and your connection with God, and when you pray or you meditate, the God you feel, the true God, is ever loving, compassionate, patient, unconditional. There's no conditions. Would never ask you to harm a hair on your head or someone else you love ever. God would want you to come freely from an open heart, not from fear, but from bliss, from euphoria, from excitement, from, oh my God, here you are. Yes, I've missed you. It's been thousands of years. I've missed you so much. And your heart would explode with such gratitude. It wouldn't be from fear. That should be the good guidance. So if they do a Project Bluebeam, because that's all over TikTok, all over the internet, fuck, even Candace Owen did a piece on that. I'm not joking. That's how big people are talking about it. So I thought, let me do my bit for God and country, because I don't want you to be afraid. I want you to be standing in your power. I want you to feel that no matter what, ask yourself, would God do this? magic show, this puppet thing in the sky. And when you see the sky opening up, I can tell you a story. I was laying out in my balcony in California. My mom was still very sick. She was 6, I think it was almost a year before she died. Yeah, I think it was it was 6 months before she died. Sorry. And in the sky, I saw 3 angels. I kid you not. I don't mean angels like angel. I mean clouds that had formed into angels. There was no doubt. I still have the pictures. And I sent them to her, texted them to her without saying a word. She goes, "Oh my God, angels." I go, "Yeah. Isn't that amazing?" I called her up immediately. As soon as she sent angels, I called her up and we talked. And I said, "Isn't that wild?" And she said, "Yes, they're angels. Oh my God." And I was like, "Yeah." So I don't understand why people are taking their camera and going, "Oh my God, 2 suns," when we know it's the glimmer of the fucking lens. Oh my God, 2 moons. Okay, we know why there's 2 moons for a minute or 1. For a while, people were saying, there's no moon in the sky. And my son, because sometimes I work late, my son was saying, "Mom, there's a fucking moon in the sky." I don't know what these people are saying. There's a moon in the sky. I go, "I figured there was a moon in the sky." He goes, "It's cloudy tonight." So, but I did see it glimmering through. This weird desire to scare the shit out of people just to get views, to get, 175 likes and 175,000 likes, excuse me, to get 1.5 million views, that kind of thing. The competition to get his attention is toxic as fuck. So again, ask yourself, does this feel good to me? Or do I feel like I'm being hustled? Do I feel afraid? If that is a fear-filled message, then that's not your message, is it? It's not for you. Just remember, people do watch horror movies like Halloween 1 and 2. I don't even know what these movies are. These incredibly horrible movies. You know what I've noticed in Netflix, which I'm about to cancel? All kinds of movies about serial killers. I'm like, what the fuck is this with these? What do they want to make them immortal? Forget talking about someone who was, alive in World War I that fell in love with a girl and they never saw each other again. And then, 80 years later, at the last moment before one passes, they reconnect through a grandchild that reconnects them. How about that for a story? But no, let's do, movies about serial killers. Let's do that. Let's just do that again and again and again. Oh, we got another one. Oh, did you know about that one? No, I didn't know he did that. Let's do a movie on that. Woman of the Year. Why? Oh my God, the acting was amazing. We all have such instincts to believe in you got to kind of like, why would they do that? When there's so many good scripts about love, about reincarnation, about remembering your love. Look at the stories I tell you about the Akashic records that I do. Look at the hypnotherapy sessions that I've done. Other people, famous people have done. Look at even the hypnotherapy sessions with Nostradamus that, what's her name, did, Dolores Cannon. Why not make a movie about that? But no, they're going to make a movie about a serial killer. And women are eating it up like it's cake. Oh my God, the font theory. I was looking at the comments going, my God, these women are down the rabbit hole of what may happen to them and what they would do. I'm not saying don't be prepared, but I'm saying, why would you spend a whole 2 hours of your time looking at something that's going to throw cortisol through your body? You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the shit I look at is just to see what are people thinking, focusing on, making, investing in. Do you understand? It's like, that's my whole... I've always been a person who watches human beings to see where they're at. Because if that's your focus, instead of pulling out an Audible book on, I don't know, like the Project Bluebeam, that's my job. My job is to tell you, this is what I feel. I could read it to you when I get the books. I order them. Just like I read to you the Emerald Tablets. Just like I read to you Mind Power into the 21st Century, to understand the holographic universe, to understand how we manifest. Because really, I don't want you to manifest a fucking car. I had a client going, oh, I might manifest what was it that she said? Some kind of expensive SUV. And she said, In the same breath, well, I'd be just as happy living with my 4 cats and my baby in a van. I go, why would you go from one extreme to another? Fuck the cars. How do you want to live? Well, I want to live with my man, with my baby, my animals. Where? Next to the ocean. He loves the woods. I go ahead, visualize that. And I said, forget about the car. Fuck cars. Visualize your life. How does it look? It looks like this. I feel like that. I can go to the beach. We watch the sunset and the sun rise. We make amazing food. We grow amazing food. I go focus on that. Okay? A lot of the beginnings of how to teach people how to manifest was about cars. So you could go, oh my God, I did it. I got a car. Great. What do you want to manifest next? A better job? Because people were thinking small. A better job. Okay. Right? Okay. Like I remember making the mistake, and I shared this guy with you guys, some of you who know me, where I manifested the house, right? And I said to myself and to you, I should have manifested a house where all the shit works. Every fucking thing in the house works. You know, I was just thinking small. You know, everything works. It's all perfect. The view's it's all fucking Why? Because I deserve it. So do you. You deserve it. And so that's what we need to focus on. Not women of the hour. Not leave the world behind. Not shit that will freak you out and go, oh my God, Teslas have stopped working in the middle. And what does that mean? The Obamas, they're trying to warn us. The Obamas are shit. They don't give one fuck about warning anyone. They just made money. And they seeded a huge amount of population of people with fear. That's what in fact, they accomplished their goal. It was a successful goal. So for a while, and probably for the length of our journey into ascension, we're going to have to make a commitment not to watch scary movies, not to watch, I could see caring about people. Real things like the Menendez. Let's free the Menendez. Yes. Let's free Palestinian people from this debacle. Yes. Let's stop the Geno in the Congo. Yes. And the Sudan. And oh my God, how many other countries? Let's ask Pachamama to calm down. Please don't flood any more countries. Yes. But also, let's also manifest something that is beautiful. Let's not be manipulated by the 1% using the government and the alphabet channels of these things that, RFK wanted to remove for the greater good of mankind. We have a chance to actually get somewhere. That's why I was kind of reading some of this shit for your entertainment, but also for you to see the consciousness of people. So they believe in just, lifting up and coming into new bodies and all that shit, but they don't believe in what we believe in, which is wild. Because what we believe in is something that is sustainable, that is beautiful. We're all going to go. We're all going to drop our bodies at one point. But in the interim, we're going to make sure that we are the caretakers of the planet. We're going to heal her, kind of like a giant whale that got beached on the sand. And we're going to pour water on her, and we're going to chant on her, and we're going to love her, and we're going to apologize for the beatings she took from many of us in various incarnations. And we're going to invite her to heal and invite her to come into, we're going to escort her into 5D so that she lifts away. And the reality that these other people have decided that is going to happen will be their reality. There's no doubt about it. And meanwhile, we will escort planet Earth out of that 3D, and it will collapse. They will enjoy that collapse. Apparently, they're looking forward to it. And meanwhile, we will be the caretakers and go, it's okay, baby. It's okay, Pachamama. We got you. And we have a whole bunch of people who have crossed over laughing and high-fiving going, fucking, we made it. That's my vision. I hope it's yours. Okay? But I think it's important for you guys to depending, many of you might be turned off by Christianity, Revelation. I invite you to go and do what I did in Google and kind of holy fuck, this is what people, they believe in that, but they don't believe in you levitating. They believe in that, but they don't believe in the New York. They believe in that, but they don't believe that you have telepathy and that you're psychic and that you can actually remote view or see or be a medical intuitive that can actually scan someone's body with your mortal eyes, like a Superman scanning and then going in and going, you should check your liver. You've got issues with your liver. Here's some herbs. And then you go to your doctor going, yeah, there's, yeah, your liver came back, the blood came back, it's not good. But they would think that's devil energy. They would think that's satanic, that's satanic energy to scare you back into your cave of ignorance. And they have done that successfully with people in the last, I've seen that, well, they've done it for thousands of years, but most recently I've been seeing a lot of young people born from 1998 to now, well, in the last, say, 1998 to 2004, and I've met some of these young people, and unfortunately they are scared as fuck because of this kind of rhetoric that is, being thrown around as truth, as the only truth. And that's dangerous, in my opinion. So, any other questions? Any other questions? Yes, people are scared of the earth's medicine. They are. They're scared, and there's multiple medicines. And if anything, all of you should become herbalists. All of you should have an apothecary. All of you. And the reason why I say that is because, and that's why I'm not on any meds, pharma meds. Because after the COVID, well, not that I was on anything ever anyway, but when the lockdown happened and people can get to their insulin, they couldn't get to that, they couldn't get to this, and why? Because, well, one of the reasons was because people were running out. Pharmacies were running out of shit. So when you're dependent on shit, you are now vulnerable. Now, if you need something to save your life and to keep you alive, don't take my advice, obviously. But I would stock up on shit and just have it, you know what I mean, if I were you. But that's one of the reasons why me and my twin never took anything. That's why when he was on his deathbed with brain cancer and they were asking him, are you on anything? He was on nothing. And for someone in their 70s to be on nothing is an anomaly. It's not normal. Most people by the time they're 70 are at least maybe 2, maybe 3 medications, minimum. Okay? And it's rare. It's rare. And I know that because I've had too many nurses. My mom was the same. I'm the same. I take nothing. Nothing. And what I drink is herb teas, medicinal teas. So, I mean, get going. Start reading books. Start understanding. One of the things I loved when I first came to New York, and Beth, you'll appreciate that, is I saw in every lawn where I live was, in the Catskills, in those areas, were dandelions. And when I used to live here 6-7 years ago, there were no dandelions. I didn't see them. People were spraying shit everywhere. And when I came back after a separation with me in New York State for, what was it, 7 years? Yeah, 7 years. 6-7 years. I saw dandelions everywhere. Everywhere. And I remember me and my twin would go up in the mountains and we would just eat dandelions from the ground. Because it's good for your liver and your digestion, So you just need to be more and more in touch with Pachamama. I remember going on hikes and we found wild asparagus and we ate it. It tasted sweet. It was beautiful. We came across another place where there was fennel. I don't know how the fuck fennel got there, but it was. And we knew we could recognize things and eat it, right? So it's kind of time for you to have a relationship with Pachamama, an intimate one, a loving one that is not just loving, but respectful and in earnest of speaking to her. I used to lay out nude up in the mountains of California, and I was working on a healing book, on a womb healing book at the time, and I would lay down on her and ask her, what should I write today? And she would tell me. I'd run in my cabin and fucking type like an animal, just, oh my God, yes. And I would just type away 5, 6, 7, 10 pages of the first chapter for my class that I was teaching. If you ask her, she will talk to you. She is an entity. She is a soul in an immense body. And that's why we've lost sight of her, because she is so large that we can't see her. We're not going to have eye contact with her, obviously. But it is even better than that. It is a soul connection. It is telepathic, and it is real. It is real. So, dandelion, the best medicine, highest in vitamins and minerals. Oh, thank you for saying that. That's cool. Herbalists are taught to have a relationship with the plants we're working with. Yes. And I came across fields and fields and fields of Japanese knotweed, which is an amazing resveratrol, and it is an intelligent plant. And if you take the roots and you grind it as best you can because it's hard as fuck, and it's fantastic for Lyme disease. Fantastic. And it's actually one of the few plants that crosses the blood-brain barrier. And Lyme disease crosses the blood-brain barrier. And this would actually help you. So Japanese knotweed is seen as a weed, as an invasive plant. It's attacked and sprayed and, all of that. And it is actually a loving, intelligent, healing plant. It's incredible. And people just don't even know. Dandelions have popped up everywhere outside my work area. That's fantastic. And yes, you agree with me, right, Beth? Beth, I won't tell you who she is, but Beth is a healer. It's everywhere. Japanese knotweed's so needed right now. Yes, because you remember Stephen Buhner talked about it, right? His book, Healing Lyme, a very, very famous book. When my twin got Lyme disease, I talk about it all the time. I apologize. But Lyme disease is one of the most prominent diseases in the East Coast. And yet no one knows how to fucking heal it permanently. And what they don't, and well, actually a lot of the doctors do know that, but they won't admit it, is that once you're off the antibiotics, it morphs into, my twin used to call it Spirochete. Am I correct, Beth? Spirochete. And then it morphs again. It's this weird chameleon-like bacteria. What is it? It's parasitical energy. And it will, I knew people who were shitting out of a bag by the time they were diagnosed too late. In other words, they had a bag. And the fatigue, the level of fatigue, many of them would have relapses, kind of like malaria, and they couldn't fucking lift their head off the floor. I've met them in their 30s. And Spirochete. Okay, good. That's what I thought. Where did it come from? No, I have actually taken pictures. Paulie, I'll send you pictures of Lyme disease, of Japanese knotweed. And the thing is, you want to get it wild. We used to get it wild on the edge of the rivers of Catskills because it wasn't going to get fucked with. So we would get it there. I actually, believe it or not, got a bunch of, we pulled a whole, like cane of Japanese knotweed. We just pulled it out of the ground. And then we planted on my land because we want some. And it's very intense. But what was interesting is that I started looking at the cane, Beth. I'm just going to tell you. And I was looking at this thick cane, and I was wondering, I was just telling my son, my God, I wish to God I had millions of dollars because I would like send it to a textile lab. You know how they have bamboo fibers, right? They take bamboo and they make it and they weave it into cloth. And apparently it's actually, it's very toxic actually to make bamboo material, but I didn't know that. But I'm wondering if taking the bamboo cane of the Japanese knotweed could be made into materials, or at the very least turning into wood floors, right? What do you think? I think it would be amazing because it's fucking hard. The actual, it's a piggy bank bacteria from Lyme disease. The treatment does not kill it the treatment does not kill it most of the time. Yeah, exactly. I agree. And Japanese knotweed is really important. We should all have it. I was talking to one of my clients who said, I had it in my farm and we weren't able to sell our house because we had it. And so it took us 2 years to remove it. Like in England, apparently it's not respected. It's looked at invasive. It's not respected. It's not taught. And even when people know it's good for them, they are pushed by the authorities, the government, the state, whatever, that if you want your land to have value, you cannot have it on your property. Isn't that ironic that the very thing that could save you, I mean, literally help you, they don't want you to have it on your property, says a lot, doesn't it? Says a lot. Yeah. So these kinds of, what other herbs are really important? Well, I just got red clover, and I'm making teas with that. When I was a kid in the 70s, I think it was in the 80s, it was outlawed. You couldn't have red clover. It's like FDA, my friend. FDA. So as we go, Stephen Budo has a protocol to follow. Yes, he does. And the book is called, can you look it up real quick? It's called Healing Lyme, but that's the spelling. You guys need to do a screenshot. You should all have his books. He's got a book on healing viral through his herb protocols, and also like natural antibiotics. And my dream is to have an apothecary. And the best way to keep your herbs is through violet glass. That will keep your herbs the longest, is violet glass. And so you want to make sure that your violet glass is made either in Italy or the USA, or, you know what I mean? You want to make sure it's violet glass, not some crap that's been dyed and will peel eventually after years. Or, you know what I mean? So you got to make sure it's made in certain parts of the world. What else can I tell you that's interesting? So any other questions? Anything that you guys you want me to look up on the internet? Let me see. I'm trying to find anything else that's interesting. I think that New Age. Yeah, let's look up New Age. So you guys understand why I will not connect with New Age, because I turn my back on that, and I'm looking into ancient wisdom. Hang on, okay? I'm trying to find New Age. So there's a lot of ideas about New Age. One is that it started in the early 70s, which is not true. It started in the 1800s. The New Age places strong emphasis on the idea that the individual and their own experience are the primary source of authority on spiritual matters. That's interesting how they put that, isn't that? Listen to this, that the individual and their own experiences are the primary source of authority on spiritual matters. Have you noticed that that's not true? We're all learning from each other. We're all sharing notes. We're all saying, that did happen to you? What do you think of that? Well, I don't know about that, but I like this. And we're actually looking at things that we think was a subjective experience and realizing that we all experience it. So now it's an objective truth. It exhibits what Gila termed unmediated individualism and reflects a worldview that is radically democratic. None of that made sense. Okay, let's continue. What is the meaning of New Age? A way of thinking arising in the late 20th century, Western society, and adapted. It's all wrong. Okay, New Age came from Blavatsky. And the problem is that, and I've mentioned that before. Hang on for a quick second. New Age, Blavatsky. Blavatsky. I'll see if I can't, I really don't like her, so I don't even know how to spell her name, but hang on let me see if I find anything. It's not coming up, so whatever. The New Age belief rejects the idea of an absolute truth and therefore does not have any particular source of authority. Oh my God. Did you hear that? Listen to this. The New Age movement rejects the idea of an absolute truth. That's a lie. We do have absolute truth, and therefore does not have any particular source of authority. Our source of authority is the all, the creator, the one of 1,000 names. The only absolute dogma in New Age is that truth is relative. That is another lie. Each person has its own reality and subjective experience. What is true for one person may not be true for another. That's their idea of New Age. Do you see the confusion of why people don't understand where we're coming from? Okay, what happened to the New Age? By the end of the 1980s, the New Age movement had lost its momentum. Although primarily a religious movement, it was derivative for its acceptance of unscientific ideas and practices, especially its advocacy of crystals and channeling. Oh my God. This is all Google. The reason why I like reading some of this shit with you tonight, even though it's 2 o'clock in the morning and we should all be in bed, is because, do you understand how they actually talk about ancient wisdom? That there's no data, there's no truth, that each of us believe in our own, we're all in our own little fucking islands having these kumbaya moments with ourselves, and we're not connected to any truth that we connect that is objective. That is the most insane shit I've ever thought. It's insane. And of course, our practices of crystals and channeling. This is why I'm laughing. What is the most common New Age practice? Affirmation, breathwork, chakras, channeling, creative visualization, magic, meditation, and Neo-Tantra. Well, how does New Age view Jesus? New Agers believe Jesus was an enlightened man. He was in touch with his cosmic consciousness and was able to tap into his universal power to heal others. They believe that he is only God in the same sense that we are also gods. I feel like some 12-year-old got some Cliff Notes and went on Google and started writing some shit. I can't believe it. Okay, I can't wait to read this to you. This is on Google. What is the difference between New Age and Christianity? New Age teachings does not recognize a God or higher power in the sense that Christians do. No shit. We saw the damage done. Remember? I mean, if you don't believe what I believe in, we're going on the rack. Okay, anyway. For those of the New Age, all reality is one. In this way, God is everything and everything is God. Okay. Consequently, the New Age God is not personal, nor does this God have a mind, desire, standard, or goals. No, but the Christian God believes that is jealous, angry, demanding, bullying, and fear and intimidating. Lady Bird, Book of New Age Spirituality. Okay, let me look. Can I look it up on Google? Lady Bird, let me look at that. Lady Bird, Book of New Age. Okay, hang on. Let me go there. Lady Bird. Let's just look at this. Lady Bird, Book of New Age Spirituality. PDF. Okay, let's look. A complete list of Lady Bird's... Okay, I don't know. It's not coming up. It's not. Oh no, it's a series of children's books. I was joking. Okay, good. I was looking it up because I'm looking for like content. It's too funny. Characteristics of New Age spirituality. Let's look at it. Okay, this looks good. New Age spirituality is a spiritual movement that has several characteristics. Holistic healing. New Agers often use alternative medicine and natural healing practices such as acupuncture, chiropractic, massage, and natural food diets. Well, I would call that ancient wisdom. Let's move on. Self-empowerment. New Agers believe that people have everything they need within themselves to achieve fulfillment, guide, and to guide themselves. Again, ancient wisdom. Let's continue. Focus on the present. New Agers focus on the here and now and developing a sense of spiritual enlightenment through life. Okay. Belief in the self. New Agers believe in the spiritual authority of the self and that people exist to heal themselves and fulfill their own destinies. Ancient wisdom. In fact, it's been our soul contract for centuries. Use of tools. New Agers use tools such as tarot cards. Okay, just please, I'm going to laugh. Be patient with me. New Agers use tools such as tarot cards. They've been using tarot cards since at least the 16th century. That's number one. This is crystals. They have found carved totems in Egypt that were carved out of crystals. But let's go on. It's all New Age. Yoga. Well, New Agers believe in yoga. Well, yoga goes back 10,000 years in the Hindu tradition. Meditation to connect with the self and source. In India, in Tibet, in many other cultures, including, I will say, the Druids and some of the Atlanteans would meditate. You might call it prayer, self-reflection. Anyway, let's move on. So apparently that's a New Age thing. It's not anything we ever did like 500-600 years ago, much less 1,000 years ago. Listen to this. Belief in other dimensions. New Agers believe in alternative dimensions or realities that people are connected to in another world or planet. I don't know how this is New Agers, but okay. New Agers believe in reincarnation. And past lives. Well, let's forget that the fact that Emperor Constantine, in the Council of Nicaea had them remove reincarnation at around 400 AD, but okay. Belief in karma. Well, karma is a Sanskrit word which goes back to India, which goes back 7,000 years. But that's a New Ager. Hang on. New Agers often believe in karma, that negative thoughts create limiting beliefs that prevent positive things from happening. Do you understand why people think we're fucking crazy? Because they have no idea that this is ancient wisdoms. But let's continue. Rejection of traditional religions. I can't wait to hear this. Hang on. Okay. New Agers often reject traditional religions and Judeo God, but believe in other deities and energies. Well, I don't know if you read the Old Testament and God is pissed off and telling you to take your son and sacrifice him. You'd probably think, yeah, maybe I don't want to believe in that God anymore because he might be asking me shit I don't want to do. I don't know, whatever. Belief in astrology. New Agers, this is one that's killing me. New Agers often believe that astrology and planets affect the world. Well, it doesn't really matter that the Egyptians were talking about it, but forget all the presidents that would employ, between 3 to 4 astrologers to make sure they were making the right moves. But okay. New Age spirituality is considered a non-religion because it lacks some of the basic components of other religions, such as clergy, dogma, or holy text. I gotta laugh. And there will be people who will go, you see, they're crazy. New Agers are just insane. Any questions or comments? Thank you. I mean, I can't help but laugh. This is insane, especially after the shit I read today. I mean, what is spirit in New Age? Non-Abrahamic religions usually have a completely different conception of the divine and its nature, but some New Agers have not internalized that yet, so they continue to speak of the divine in monotheistic terms, sometimes calling it spirit or the universe. It's because there are people I've met who are spiritualists who, for them to say the word God is really, thank you, Jessica, so sweet. To say the word God, it's so knee-jerk. So the reason, it's almost like a lover you hate because they used to beat the shit out of you. So whenever you hear the name Eric, it gives you a knee-jerk reaction. Similarly to that, you don't want to use that word because it's connected to all the shit you went through. So yeah, you're going to use the word the all, the creator, the one of 1,000 names, the spirit, or the universe. Still amazing respect for this entity that created us, but realizing that the one that you guys are connecting to, Abrahamic religion, where the God is pissed off and saying it's okay to marry 6-year-olds or to have experiences with underage people, yeah, I guess we would put a distance between that and our belief, which is ancient wisdom. But okay. Listen to this. What's spiritual bypassing in the New Age? Spiritual bypassing is a way of hiding behind spirituality or spiritual practices. It prevents people from acknowledging what they are feeling and distance them from both themselves and others. Okay. That's interesting. How do New Age view Jesus? Okay, we already read that. What is the difference between spirit and soul in New Age? The qualities of the soul are stillness, love, truth, harmony, and joy. The spirit works with everything that opposes and often imitates these qualities. The soul is divine, evolutionary, all-encompassing, spherical. The spirit is involutionary, limited, lineal. Okay, here, let's look at something better. Let's look at the Atman, since they're going to use words that are not appropriate. I'm telling you, whoever's writing this is definitely... I don't know where they're getting their data. I can't even imagine. Let's look at the Atman. The eternal self. Atman is derived from the Sanskrit word that translates as self or breath. Atman is the eternal individual self, the individual soul that resides within the universal essential self. The self is the observer of an individual's deed and actions. So the self is the soul, and the observer is the monkey mind. It's almost like, right? I mean, that's what I'm seeing. So the self is the observer, right? Of the individual's deeds. So the individual's deeds and actions would be the monkey mind. It would be the monkey doing all kinds of crazy shit, and the soul's going, oh my God, you're fucking up again. So it's kind of like, that would be how I would explore and explain it. So that's the Atman, the Atma. Let's look at the Atma. Atma is a Sanskrit word that means essence or breath. Oh, it's saying it again. So Atma and Atman is the same, but that's not true. Where's the concept of Atma? In Hinduism, Atma is the concept of the universal self that resides. Okay, does anybody remember Atma and Atman? There is a difference. Hang on. There is a difference. I'm trying to remember. Okay, soul, self, and Brahman. Let's read this. Atman is one of the most basic concepts in Hinduism, the universal self, identical with the eternal core of the personal, that after death either transmigrates to a new life or attain release, moksha, from the bonds of existence. While in the early Vedas, it occurred mostly as a reflexive pronoun, meaning oneself. In the later Upanishads, speculative commentaries on the Vedas, it comes more and more to the fore as a philosophical topic. Atman is that which makes the other organs and faculties functions for which indeed they function. It also underlies all the activities of a person as Brahman, the absolute, underlying the workings of the universe. Atman is a part of the universal Brahman from which it can commune or even fuse. So fundamentally was the Atman deemed to be that certain circles identified it with Brahman or the various systems, darshan or Hindu thought. Vedanta is the one that is particularly concerned with the Atman. Okay, let's go to Vedanta. Vedanta is of the sixth system. Darshan or Indian philosophy, the term Vedanta means in Sanskrit the conclusion, anta of the Vedas, the earliest sacred literature of India. It applies to the Upanishad, which were elaborations of the Vedas, and in the school that arose out of the study of the Upanishad. Thus, Vedanta is also referred to as Vedanta, Mimamsa, reflection on Vedanta, Uttara, reflection on the later part of the Vedas, and Brahman, reflection on Brahman. So it's different levels of teachings, of consciousness, of understandings. The three fundamental Vedanta's texts are the Upanishad, the most favored being the longer and older ones, such as the Brihadaranyaka, the Shandoya, and the Taittiriya, and the Katha. The Brahman Sutras, also called Vedanta Sutras, which are very brief, even one-word interpretation of the doctrine of the Upanishad, and the Bhagavad Gita, Song of the Lord, which because of its immense popularity was drawn upon for support of the doctrine found in the Upanishad. Now, the Upanishad is really ancient text. I think it's older, from what I'm seeing here, it's older than Bhagavad Gita. Am I correct? You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But that's what I'm seeing. Okay? Let me see what else. Bear with me. That was interesting in terms of the Atman. The way they break down souls. Let's look at, hang on, okay? Let's look at how they see the souls of animals. I'm curious to see that. The souls of animals. Okay, The Souls of Animals is a book. Okay, let's keep going. The Souls of Animals. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's go into something deep. Do animals have souls? First, let's define the soul, okay? To define what is a soul, I will use human perspective. As humans, we are comprised of three parts. Bloody hell, get out of here. Body, soul, and spirit. Here's an example of this from scripture. May God himself, the God of peace, sanctify you through the... No, I'm not going to read this. Your body is your physical shell and your spirit is part of you that allows you to connect and commune with God. Your soul is where your mind, will, and emotions live. I found a wonderful... Okay, so let's look at how they see animals. When animals die, often comes... Do dogs go to heaven? If you believe... Okay, this is just a lot of rhetoric. This person doesn't seem to understand how to just say, yeah, animals have souls. It's a lot of bullshit just to get to the point. And it looks to me like they don't think... Hang on, okay? Yeah, so there's this like hierarchy between animals and souls. When God created the animals on the earth, the sky, and the sea, he spoke them into existence. He said, of course, it's he. Let there be, and there was. However, notice the difference when he made man. So there's this weird idea in biblical texts and other scriptures, by the way, don't get me wrong, where Animals are not thought to have souls. Do animals have souls like human beings? Catholic answer. The answer. Oh, bloody hell, these bloody ads. Animals have souls and do so, and so do plants. Does this answer sound like something out of the New Age movement? Don't worry, it isn't. Okay, this is from Catholic.com. I'm not joking. Do animals have souls like human beings? Animals have souls and so do plants. Does this sound like something out of the New Age movement? Don't worry, it isn't. Rest assured, we're not saying animals and plants have souls like ours. The soul is the principle of life. Since animals and plants are living things, they have souls, but not in the same sense in which humans beings have souls. Our souls are rational. Theirs aren't. And ours are rational because they're spiritual, not material. Have you ever seen animals cry? Have you ever seen an animal fight for their lives? Have you ever seen animals weep for the loss of another animal? Have you ever seen an animal take care of its young? Fight for its young? They're not rational? I think they are rational. The soul is the principle of life. Since animals and plants and living things, they have souls, but not in the sense we humans have. Animals and plants can't do anything which transcends the limitation of matter. What does he mean by that? Although some animals seem clever, they don't actually possess conceptual intelligence. They can't, for instance, conceive of the abstract notion of justice. I'm sorry. I've actually seen animals conceive the abstract of injustice and justice. How do I know that? Because I've seen animals save people's lives. And not to save someone's life would be unjust. I've seen animals stop someone from harming a human being. That's the definition of abstract notion of justice in my book. I saw that video that you reposted, the horse that was crying. Yes. Some animals have a greater hierarchy than humans. Thank you. There you go. Animals and plants also lack a moral sense. When you scold Spot for chewing the carpet and tell him that he did was wrong, you aren't assigning guilt or sin to him since he can't commit a sin. Chewing the carpet is a sin? There are babies that will chew the carpet. I can understand why people left a lot of these rules. Animals and vegetable souls are dependent entirely on matter for their operation and being. They cease to exist at death. There's no doggy heaven. You know, it's funny he says that because many of us who have lost pets who loved us and we love them have felt their presence after they were dead. In fact, when my husband died in 2020, our dog, who had been with us since he was a puppy, was staying at a friend's, and no one told him, hey, your master died. He was at the window all night long seeing something and feeling something that had happened to someone who had passed 500-600 miles away. In fact, I think animals are more psychic than we are in some aspects. Human souls, by contrast, aren't material, they're spiritual. Only a spirit can know and love. Did you hear that? Only a spirit can know and love. A spirit's two chief faculties being the intellect, which knows, and the will, which loves. We know human souls are spiritual since humans can know and love. Animals know and love. Animals know and love all the time. In fact, we see it in action constantly. In fact, animals can be beaten and they will still love unconditionally. In fact, if anything, animals know how to love unconditionally. And specifically dogs. Lots of dogs. And some dogs will turn on you because they're sick of your bullshit. But some dogs will love you unconditionally. Sounds like to me like they have the faculties of right and wrong and injustice. Anyway, let's continue. Since, this is high wisdom. We also know human souls are immortal because spirits can't decompose. That's really brilliant. They have no parts. Only a thing with parts can fall apart. Who wrote this piece of shit? I'm sorry, hang on. They paid this person to write this shit? Let's continue. Because I believe in finishing what we start. Only a thing with parts can fall apart. A spirit is a unit. It has no top or bottom, no left or right, no inside or outside. They went to school for this. Every bit of matter, even the smallest, has parts. The human body can decompose. It's made of matter, after all. But the human soul can't. That's why we say it's immortal. I can't believe I just read this. I can't believe an adult wrote this. I can't believe adults are reading this. Let's put it that way. So let me just go back to Christianity so we can really wrap our heads around this. The Catholic Church didn't recognize women as having real human souls, like human. They thought we had B-grades animal. We had souls like animals until the 1970s. So there you go. Would you like me to read about that? I will. Let's look up how they saw us beyond when the Catholic Church thought we had B-grade souls. Let's look that up. Let's see if I can find it. Again, this is all Google. So did the Catholic Church, hang on. Did the Catholic Church always believe women had souls like men? Let's look this up. All right. How did the Catholic, is it true that until a few hundred years ago, Christianity, okay, let's go to here. Bear with me. Let's look at this. Okay, in ancient times, the status of women was not defined by soul, but by origin and relations to God, man, and animals. The template is set in Genesis. Eve is derived from Adam's, whereas he is directly formed by God as a material body infused with divine spirit. Hence, one step down from God. She communes with animals, such as the serpent. Oh my God. Okay, let's continue. Whereas Adam names them, orders them, and communes with God until this expulsion from Eden. She is designed for breeding, animal-like. She is subordinate to man by her desires to be enjoyed like a rutting beast and by her need for protecting and sustenance. Yet she is a child of God. So this implies the hierarchy is God, male, female, animals. The important thing is to remember that this is a view, or this view originates many, many millennia before it gets written down in Genesis, making sense under the conditions that obtained then. Maximal reproduction was key to human survival. Ever since, we have been struggling for a clearer understanding of the relationship between the genders, so that now the old values persist in erotic relations and every other sphere we strive to make real commitment to gender equality. What did Jesus say about women in the Bible? Let's read that. Let's see that in a minute. Hang on. Nope, it kind of blocked me. Okay, just as well. What do you think of this shit? What do you think of us being thought, us who believe in gender equality, who believe that we have been women and men in many incarnations, who believe that we are equal in souls, that many of us who are awakened are no better those that are asleep, in that the difference between us and them is that we remember and they don't. They have amnesia and we don't. Do women have souls? Commonweal magazine. Catholicism, feminism, and the Council of Macon. Women have always been unfairly indiscriminated about men. Let me go back. This was the news, blah, blah, blah. I consider myself both a Catholic and a feminist. Okay, that doesn't answer my question. Okay, let's go. There it goes. For the record, church bishops actually gathered twice at Macon, a city in east central France. First in 1581 and again in 1585. The canon issued by both councils were disciplinary rather than theological and largely unremarkable. Women's souls were never called into question. So where does this story come from? After Edmund's speech at Girls High, the superintendent of Philadelphia, okay, let me just say that that's a lie. The man who wrote the first canon on the Macon meeting was a guy who got a hold of the discourse between those bishops talking about if women had souls. So this here is rhetoric bullshit. Let me see. It was likely, okay, the bishops, knowledge of law, Chronicles Macon. Okay, let me continue. Subsequent Chronicles of Macon, determined to present the church in a bad light, had transformed a minor confusion over grammar in dogma. To be honest, that council did talk back and forth about whether or not women had souls, and they won. One person voted against the fact that women had souls, and the rest voted that we had souls. That was in 580 AD, after death. And then a man by the name of Valentin decided to take the discussion and printed little pamphlets, and it it was distributed all over France, and then it spread it all over Europe, and it got, it got legs. It was something that was discussed for centuries, and many people believe that until the 1970s, the Catholic Church had to make a move to actually declare that women had souls equal to men's. So what I find interesting about the internet is that many of them will lie, knowing damn well they're lying through their teeth when it is actually on record. And why do I know this? Because I actually spoke to theologian Elaine Pagel, who was at the time one of the Princeton professors of theology. She'd written the book Gnostic Gospel, and I was emailing her and asking her questions because I was writing my book. That's why I know, And there were a lot of things I was checking with her to make sure I wasn't going to say something that was wrong. And she, basically I was fact checking. And she said, no, you're absolutely right. This was it. This is how it went down. And then I did my own research. You know what I mean? And then went with it. So for a long time, we weren't thought to have souls. And we were, there's an arrogance in many of these religions that believe that animals are their beasts of burdens and they can treat them however they want. And they don't feel anything, and they don't feel fear. And we've seen animals, pigs, cows jump out of trucks for their very lives. You've all seen it, I'm sure. And clearly they have thought, they have intuition, and they have feelings. And many of them cry. And they know that this is not good where they are, in an abattoir. This is why I'm a vegetarian. It's certainly not probably the healthiest thing for me in some aspect, but I think it is in some sense. Because to be honest, my ability to be a psychic really ramped up when I stopped eating meat about 20 years ago. And the first time I stopped eating meat, I was 18. And it helped in developing my third eye, my decalcification. So, when you eat animals that are freaking out, not good. No bueno. Okay, so any questions? You guys have any requests? Any questions at all? You have to understand, when we look at the New Age and we look at what the Bible said, half of it is how people, their perception of the Bible. And they can perceive anything they want and use the Bible as an excuse to be an asshole. And that's some of the things that we know. Many of you have gone through the Inquisition. Many of you have gone through being high priestesses and witches and midwives. And you were burned at the stake for speaking the truth or for trying to be in your integrity. And after years and years, different incarnations, eventually you would lose your ability to speak your truth. You know what I mean? And there's so many things that we're currently healing right now, concurrently healing, and I mean concurrently. So not only are you healing your immediate trauma of this incarnation, some of it, hopefully it's not egregious to the point where you can't see yourself out of the woods in your particular incarnation here, but you have to understand that you're also healing things from multiple incarnations where you were a healer, a rebel, a midwife. You were trying to be democratic and making sure that for example, the holy books would be written in the common language. You were fighting as an astronomer to see the stars, to map out the stars, the planets. You were trying to, maybe you had your hands on some ancient Egyptian scrolls on the knowledge of how we were originally made, and you were hunted down, and your evidence and your documentations were stolen and burned in front of your eyes, and then you were destroyed. You have no idea the type of shit that many of us went through. And in trying to reclaim our ancient wisdoms and our ancient histories and how we were treated. And so it's no wonder many of you are silent. but you're going to have to come out of the shadows and speak the truth. Your experiences is your truth. The experiences that is going to be a reflection of the many, that's going to be our truth. And so we need more and more voices to rise up. Anyway, I want to thank you for being here and having some laughs and just looking at some rhetoric and just having fun. I will post this video up. Hopefully I didn't cut off too much. Working on it. Oh, fantastic. And fantastic, Beth. It's important. And also your lovely partner, in terms of both of you healing. You know what I mean? And coming into your power. Because if you guys are shy, this is not the time. This is the worst time on the planet to be shy. Worst time. You could have been shy in the 1920s and 1940s. 50s, even the 60s, fuck it. But now is not the time. So your time is to be bold, certain. If you fuck up, you step in dog shit, apologize and keep moving. Keep it moving. It doesn't matter. Okay, if you make a mistake, apologize and keep it moving. That's it. You're never going to know every single thing. You're not going to know every single thing. But what I can tell you is that after you listen to Orson Welles' War of the Worlds and you connect it to Project Bluebeam, right? You're going to realize that it's going to be very easy to pull the biggest hustle on the planet will be that, if they actually pull it off. The minute the government says they believe in UFOs and the minute they want you to believe in it too, you're being hustled. We don't need them to tell us anything about anything. Nothing. We need to form our communities, our tribes. We need to get closer and closer together. Find the people who think like you. I'm not joking. And raise the vibration of your ascension. Take care of who wants to wake up. Take care of those who are willing to get more information. Don't bother with people who are going to laugh at you, bully you, slap your hands away. Again, go back to Plato's parable of the cave. When people don't want to wake up, they will beat you down. Don't waste your time. You're not here to convince people of anything. If they want the knowledge, give it to them. If they don't, and they're trying to have you feel disarmed by you trying to convince them about reincarnation, about evolution, about chakras, about the value of chakras, all of that, mantras, meditation, and they want to just prove it to me. Don't walk away. Just walk away. What you want to do is take care of the people who need you. You're not here to convert anyone, preach to anyone, bully anyone, push anyone, convince anyone, sell anyone of anything. That's not your job. Your job is to take care of those who are vacillating, who are afraid of their own power, who don't know how to marshal their psychic energies. They need you to teach them how. Okay? That you're there for those people. So they don't lose their minds or think they're crazy or start popping pharma to lobotomize their third eye, for example. That's why you're here. Okay? All right. Well, it's what time is it? Bloody hell, it's late. All right. Well, listen, sending you much love on your journey. I will upload this on my YouTube channel. If you want to book an Akashic reading with me or hypnotherapy session or twin flame session, you got to go to my website, tonybarca.com, fill out my intake form or go on my Linktree. Okay, and on my Linktree, you'll see it'll take you directly to my website, and you can fill out the intake form, which is on the front page, the home page, but also you'll see some really cool testimonials and things of that nature. You can read about me and find out if I'm someone you want to work with. But let me just say this: I'm not going to hit you up on TikTok, on Messenger saying, I love you, I love your energy, I'm offering you a reading. I will never do that. I have to start saying that after every live because people are posing as me, which is kind of weird because you'd think I'd have a lot more followers than that, but apparently that's what's happening. So do not get hustled. Trust in your light, trust in your desires. As long as they're not deviant, as long as they're not, negative, harmful to you or to others, you're good to go. Okay? You're being led to your mission. All right. Sending you much love on your journey. Namaste. Be well.